We are joined by YouTube sporting royalty, Spencer FC.
There was a club that was going bankrupt near where I lived in Essex. Could we purchase them, be the first YouTubers to own a non-league team? Beating Ipswich, Newcastle, Watford, West Ham, Portsmouth. Huge household name.
Your Ayahuasca story.
I was not in a good place whatsoever. Everything I see is shit. I see the worst version of everyone, cynical about everything. To be honest, I think this industry had f***ed me. The only thing I've got left to try. This sounds a bit dark, but I was like, if this doesn't work, you know, there's other things I can do to just get myself out of my own brain. It's referred to as medicine, really. They call it plant medicine, right? It 100% fixed me. It's not an enjoyable experience, especially if you have a lot of trauma. And there was a guy there who took a turn, who went a bit mad and started trying to beat himself up. Some people watching this think I'm a nutcase, but when you experience them, they're so powerful.
Welcome, everybody. Today we are June. That one was going to be so good.
That's the first time you've ever
That is the
fucked up
first
the
ever time
Wafflin
I've fucked
intro.
it, but it's because we are joined by YouTube sporting royalty.
We are.
Is here.
Right?
I thought you meant
It's you.
We have Spencer FC, right?
Hello.
Arguably the creator of YouTube football.
Or just YouTube in general as well.
No, well, yeah, I mean, you could arguably say that.
YouTube in
I
general.
think I am to YouTube football what you two are to YouTube boxing.
Oh, the inventors of the sport.
Yeah.
We just both did the first big thing, didn't we? That's really what it is in terms of a game. You did the first fight, I did the first game.
Yeah, but what went into it, mate? Like, you opened doors, brother. Like, the Wembley... I remember, right, being stood in a field, forest, and you'd been on the phone to me thinking, I want to try and do this Wembley match. And you were talking it through, and I was like, mate, that's the best idea I've ever heard. It was unbelievable. And I remember it was just an idea, and then the way it was brought to life, it's magnificent.
It was proper for the time. We're talking 2015 was the first Wembley Cup, so 10 years ago. It was ahead of its time in terms of production value and stuff for sure, but it's so expensive as a
And the
result.
budget though was ahead of it.
Yeah, that's what made it hard in the end. I think it's just too expensive to do that. And everyone has sort of maybe not had their feel of playing at Wembley, but everyone had done it a couple of times. Hard to sell it to them again. But that was my area. I came out of production companies and I realised there's something maybe we could do here if I can pitch it. But it was great, man. It was great. But I don't think I created the opportunity. I think you guys created the opportunity for me by agreeing to play. Because actually, if, for example, the Sidemen, who were the opposition that day, hadn't have played, how many people at that point in time watching Spencer FC, as that was the name of my team, play a game of football? It was the other people I managed to convince to join it that was this perfect marriage.
But that opened the doors to invite legends back the next year in 2016.
Yeah, of course. And that was against him. You know, I actually forgot that. When we did you did your goal and stuff at the Sidemen, you both scored, obviously. You scored multiple times. The Sidemen game the other day. I remember thinking, it's so cool that Weller scored because he played and scored in the first Wembley Cup. I'd completely forgotten that your team was
Weller
my
Wanderers.
opposition in the second one. I knew you played in it, but I'd forgotten because the third one had all the drama with the F2 and stuff. The Weller Wanderers thing had just gone to the back of my mind.
That was the fourth one.
Well, in the third one we played again
In front of a crowd.
Town, and in the fourth one it was F2 FC. It was Rebel.
The four-way, yeah.
Yeah, it's four-way. So
Exactly. And talking of sporting teams and performance,
This is the perfect time to tell you about today's sponsor. Lelo.
As you know, I've been training for the Boston Marathon recently, and by the time this podcast comes out, I would have hopefully completed it.
well, let me give you a little fitness hack that I have found.
Don't tell me you're training your pelvic floor.
Yes.
But Spen, did you know that training your pelvic floor is just as important as running, pull-ups, endurance exercises?
Yep, it's true. And with this sleek, ergonomic design, comfortable medical grade, body safe materials designed for maximum comfort and ease of use.
Mate, 8 powerful pleasure settings, 2 powerful motors, AI interactive mode, auto-adjusted liquid silicone ribs.
Yeah,
Ooh la la.
but you haven't even heard about the best feature.
The Lelo app will feature for you a built-in stamina trainer, right, that syncs with the F2S, guiding men through progressive exercises designed to build endurance and enhance your control, Malfoy.
Now, Joe, obviously, us and the viewers are well aware of your struggles in the bedroom, lasting a matter of seconds. Now, with the Lelo app, it will take you from seconds to minutes.
Hope you're happy, even using our gorgeous Lelo friends to target me. But I'm not going to be taken aback because my confidence is going to grow with my Lelo app and device. And guess what, Malfoy? I bet you want some of this.
What, the personal moisturiser that comes free with every order when you use the code Wafflin free.
Correct! When you use the code Wafflin free with each purchase, you will receive this personal moisturizer as well as your order. Head to the link in the description to get yours and start your pelvic fitness journey today.
Back on with the show.
I was the first ever signing of a YouTube football team.
That's
Wow,
crazy.
because that's the thing as well. So we had the Wembley Cup, which Spencer FC created. He also created the first YouTube football team.
No,
Well, it depends what you mean. 'cause
Palmers.
Obviously, you had Palmers. We were the
Yeah, but
first-
who's Palmers?
Yeah, who the hell is
Does Luke Martin know who Palmers are?
Well, if you know
A lot of people
YouTube
know
football, you
Palmers.
should know who Palmers.
We know hashtag United.
Yeah.
Well,
They
you just
were
created
the
more
first.
rivalry there, Ben. Unfortunately.
No, I mean,
the
there's no
Palmers still
beef.
exist.
Well, they definitely stopped, and I think they came back as a Sunday team. I'm not sure if they're filming it. My current, I don't think they exist right now, but I could be wrong about that. But there's loads of people like Palmers definitely were the
Beatties.
first team that I knew that were filming 11-a-side Sunday League. But then like I'd actually filmed non-league years before that because I was filming my dad's team that he was at. So it's no real. But hashtag were the first team I would say to like YouTubeify.
What was the vision with hashtag though? Because surely you didn't start hashtag thinking it's going to become what it has today, or did you? Was that the vision from the very beginning?
Obviously, there's loads that's happened that's like you couldn't have planned for. But to be honest, we did, if I'm honest, because so Seb, who my older brother, who's working with me at the time and still is, we were sitting in my old house and we were going, how you got to remember, like we're talking 10 years ago, right? Hashtag's just turned 9 actually, so 9 years ago. We didn't know if this YouTube thing was going to stick around. We didn't know if we had a career in this or not. We didn't. I had loads of people watching videos of me playing FIFA basically, and I was like, how do I make something that lasts from this? So we were sitting and we were spitballing ideas like, do we make a product? Do we do something with esports because that's quite booming? We both obviously loved football. We were still playing football. We were still a footballing age. I'd been filming this non-league stuff and I'd been involved in non-league. And originally, we'd just done Wembley Cup, right? So we just had EE sponsor and spent about £1 million on the first Wembley Cup they did, right?
What?
Because you got to remember, we had all the episodes of all
Yeah.
the costs of the stadium.
Wembley's 700k as well.
Well, if you want to have fans in, I think it is.
Yeah, there was no fans
yeah.
on the first one.
Mad.
But off the back of that, I was like, right, can we get another brand, maybe EE, maybe someone else, to basically buy us a club? I was going to try. There was a club that was going bankrupt near where I lived in Essex. So could we purchase them, be the first YouTubers to own a non-league team and tell the story of that? And we really looked at it and considered it. And then we just thought, we're missing a trick here. Because once we do that, we're just football owners. But we can still play. And we'd just done a game with all my mates from school, because our friend who was in our team had died, or actually 2 of them had died. So we did a memorial game, but we put it on YouTube because I agreed that it would help us raise more money. That's all I was trying to do with that, just trying to raise more money for this leukemia charity. But everyone loved it. Everyone was like, who's this dog manager you're talking about and all this? I was like, do you want to see this again? And everyone was like, yes. So I said to Seb, we can still play in a team. We can have loads of fun. We might be able to trick our way into some cool football experiences, but use that as a period to grow our brand specifically. That's why we called it hashtag and we didn't call it Spencer FC because we knew we wanted to create something bigger. So we did 2 years of that. Yep. Theo was our first signing. He was the first person that played for hashtag that I didn't know before hashtag, basically.
And he faced off against New Haven.
We did. That's got. I didn't realize how many views that game got, by the way.
I had a torn ACL playing that game.
I had a crash.
And
And
everything.
it showed.
Mate, it was fucked. But yeah, like, do you think, right, obviously a lot of people give the name a bit of stick, hashtag. Do you think if you knew how big it would get, that you would maybe pick a different name? Or are you like, nah, 100% glad it's got that, it's different, it gains traction?
I'd take it further. I'd say the name is why we've had the success.
Yeah.
It's not going to suit everyone's taste, obviously, but that's the whole point, right? It took me a little bit of time as an owner of a club to realise that my job is not to make everyone support my team. It's hard when you're in YouTube world, because in YouTube world, you want everyone to watch your videos. You want everyone to like you, ideally. No one achieves it, but that's what you want to achieve. You're not trying to hold your video back from certain people. When you own a football club, you want rivalry. It took me a long time to learn this. I got all the whole Palmer stuff wrong for years because I didn't understand how it's good for business. So a great example is like when Rangers had all their problem in Scotland, Celtic were one of the teams that donated to them because they need each other. Celtic didn't have Rangers back in that league. They lost so much revenue every year because no one cares as much. So having a name that divides opinion, that makes people not like you, is way better than having a name where people don't have an opinion on you.
Yeah, like if it was just like Palmer's,
Well, if it was like I'm from a town called Brentwood, if I'd called us Brentwood Athletic,
Yeah.
no one would care about that anywhere outside of my town. Whereas everyone in the world had an opinion on the name #United.
Yeah.
That's
So
interesting.
it's the secret sauce, 100%. Are we open to changing it one day? Yeah, I've always been open to changing it if it makes a good business argument for the club. And we could add a geographical name in there, for example. But hashtag's very much our calling card at this point. It tells you, like, think about Man United, right? Man United were formed over 100 years ago called Newton Heath. West Ham were called Thames Ironworks. None of them were called the name they've got now. And the name told you something. So I might tell you where they're from. West Ham, they were factory workers from a place called Thames Ironworks. Hashtag tells you something. It tells you it's a name, something to do with social media, something to do with the internet, which is why we exist. So it does what football names are supposed to do.
Yeah.
But if we were to add, let's say we were to become #London one day, not only does that put you a place in the world and kind of defeats that criticism that we get, that we're not from anywhere, it also broadens the horizons that could there be other hashtags? Could there be a #Madrid? Could there be a
We
Yeah.
could do a city group style.
Oh,
thing.
Red Bull.
Exactly.
Okay.
Red
On,
Bull.
on that topic then of expanding, like, have you ever considered? Well, firstly, like, if you don't mind saying, like, how much would hashtag be valued at right now?
Well, it's a very topical question, Joe, because we have just opened something up, which we've never done before. I've always wanted to do it since day one. I've always wanted to give the fans a chance to buy shares in hashtag because they're the reason we exist. They're the reason that you can say it's me. It's not. If no one watched my videos, the club wouldn't exist. It's the watchers that made us exist. So we've put it off for so many years. One, because, to be honest, we haven't needed the money. Like, we've done really well. We've had good sponsorships. We still do. At two is of us waiting for that perfect time where we needed the money maybe to secure that football ground or the thing that was going to cost us more money than we had. This is the way to crowdsource it. What's happened in the time up to now is basically I mean this in not as arrogant as it sounds, but I've basically smashed all the targets I had for this club. I've taken us as far as I can take us. I'm a rational person, so I set targets that are achievable. Don't want to overstretch. I wanted to get us to the leagues we're in now because I knew we could afford it. So the men are in the 7th tier of England. 3 promotions from League 2, right? So it's called the Isthmian Prem. The next level up is National League South. We've got teams in our league that are from your guys' neck of the woods. We play against Whitehawk. We play against Lewis. Hastings, Bognor Regis.
Sick.
We're in our league.
Hastings get battered by Hendon.
Yeah, we
couple of
battered them
months
as well, 4-0. And we
Hastings.
actually play them on Saturday. As people watching this, we play them on Saturday at Hastings, if anyone's watching, wants to come down. But so we took them to that league. And then we also got a women's team who are objectively way better than our men. They're in League 1, basically, in the 3rd tier, and they're 2nd in it. We've beaten Ipswich, Newcastle, Watford, West Ham, Portsmouth, like huge household names. But it's bloody expensive. So
But what's expensive?
to run football teams.
Oh,
at that
to
level,
run them,
We
okay.
compete. The names I just said, I've obviously got.
Oh, okay.
We played Nottingham Forest this year. We actually sold a player to Nottingham Forest this year. But we played Nottingham Forest in the National League Cup semi-final. I mean, their men just got promoted to the Premier League. They just got 100 million into their business. Now, obviously, they don't put that all in the women's team. But people forget, I think, that we're a YouTube team that started in my bedroom. Like, we've had a little bit of investment, but nothing that we haven't even spent the money that we got from the investors. And we're competing with these teams. So if we want to keep that up and we want to kick on, which I think there's a business case to say we can. We're a huge club in terms of social media reach, way higher than the other teams around us in the leagues. We want to get some investment in to do those things we need to do, to get a ground, to basically become a professional football club, because we actually can't get better without becoming professional.
Yeah.
We're beating professional teams. So, yeah, long story short, we've started a process. We're using a platform called Republic, which AFC Wimbledon raised loads of money on. Dorking Wanderers used it. Lots of teams have used it to some extent. Watford did one recently. And we're inviting people to buy shares in the club and become co-owners with me. Not just me, Cesar Azpilicueta, Champions League winner.
He's one of the first,
He's
isn't
the first person that invested in hashtag 7 years ago. So you'd be on a board, essentially, co-owner with me, my brother, with Cesar
Are you allowed to
Azpilicueta.
go to the meetings? How does that work?
And the meetings
Depends on
that
the
we
share.
have- Depends on the share. Yeah. So this is the thing. We would love, and anyone that's watched me over the years might know that I was involved with a club. I still technically am with a club called Real Oviedo, who were one of the first teams to do this. They allowed people to buy shares in their club, even people from other countries like me, Spanish team. And what's good about that is it allows someone to buy a share for like a share of a share for like 11 euros, I think was the minimum. So you don't have to be wealthy to call yourself a co-owner. I literally spent the minimum of my Oviedo share, 11 euros. I was a Real Oviedo shareholder holder. I then got to do loads of cool stuff because of my job, and I got to be part of the club in an increased way. So with hashtag, what we're doing is that there's a minimum amount. I think it's going to be around $20, which is the minimum that you can invest at and be part of the club. But equally, we'd love to have conversations with anyone out there who maybe is looking at doing a bigger investment, and they can actually be part of the club properly, because I am the majority shareholder, but I don't plan to be. I don't think that's the best thing for the future of the club. I think I have to be open to bringing more people in to help us go to the moon, which is ultimately what I want to achieve, the best club we can. So that's my sales pitch. If anyone's watching, wants to check it out, just search hashtag United Republic and
You boys?
get involved.
Well, that's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, say if you were to buy the club, like what would that?
what would
You
we
just
value
want to
it
know the entire
Like,
value.
like what would I?
I
Yeah.
can tell you, because it'll all be, this is the thing with these raises, it has to be out and open. We have to have financial data out there. So last investment we did, it was in 2022. Someone bought 10% of the club, and they put £550,000 into the club. So that values the club at 5.5 million at that time. All of that, and that's the other thing worth saying, all the money we raise is staying in the club. So let's say we raise, I don't know, we're going to raise, say we raise £1 million for hashtag. That's all, and you've become a shareholder in hashtag. You now know hashtag's got £1 million to spend as well. Yeah. It's not like it's going in my pocket. So it's all about furthering the club. So at the moment, we're looking at different models, but we're going to value ourselves a little bit higher than that, because since we've done that, we've had 2 promotions. You know, we've achieved a lot of success. We've signed more commercial deals as well. But we're probably looking around the 6 million marks, what we're going to value ourselves at. Now, I should use an example off air with Theo, Dorking Wanderers. People may be familiar with. They've got a very enigmatic owner. They've got some good content out there as well. They raised some money at a valuation of 15 million. Now they're a level above us and their men's team. Our women are quite far ahead of their women, and they have got some following, but not our sort of following. So my book, that's a good deal. You know, we're valuing ourselves a lot less than them. We beat Watford. The women beat Watford, and we know Watford are a huge club, but they did a raise on the platform, I think, with a valuation of 180 mil. So you can invest in a team that beat them for a lot less.
It's a pretty good pitch.
Yeah, and I'll say this genuinely, but with no pressure. But if anyone like you guys wants to get involved, and any of the other YouTube scene guys are watching, that's my dream, to be honest. I'd love to have more people from the scene powering the club. We can have a little conversation, might be able to do a deal, if you know what I'm saying.
I feel like I owe a lot to hashtag anyway, I mean, personally. So, but any way to give back would be like pretty cool.
Depends.
Why did you stop playing?
What, for hashtag?
Yeah.
Why did I stop playing for hashtag? I just couldn't train.
Couldn't commit, could you? Too busy.
It was
Well, like commitment
serious,
issues.
Yeah, definitely had commitment issues with hashtag United, and it was like almost an hour drive to get to training.
Shit, man.
You did amazing. You played in the non-league transition season, and you could have easily have played the level. I think maybe a step higher.
17 goals in 33 games. That is impressive.
I don't think people really know how good Theo is.
Theo is actually a baller, and I think the problem is you look at him and you think he's not good at football. But
What does that mean?
you are unbelievable. It's incredible.
I do remember a game I played in Under the Floodlights. I don't know if you remember this. And I was fuming. Des had benched me. I was like, I've played 3 games in a row here. I've been playing really well. Like, he's fucking benched me. I'm fucking livid. And I came on with 10 minutes to go. And do you remember I took a pass, guy left foot scored.
Remember it, yeah.
And I was like,
Yeah. No, I mean,
but Dev's is definitely influential in terms of taking you where you are now, isn't he?
yeah,
Like,
he's with us.
Wait, who's that?
Our
Dev's
manager.
the gaffer.
He's one of the longest serving managers in non-league. He's in his 8th season now, I think, with us, and he has taken us through 4 different leagues, 3 promotions for the men's team. And yeah, I mean, that's a great example of why I was never interested in being the manager in non-league, because you can't please everyone.
No.
You know, and listen, there's no one that would have rather seen you play every game and smash it in that level, which I think you could have. But I also understand why Dev did that with you, because you couldn't get to training, and he's got to keep a balance in all these sorts of things.
You can't play someone if they're not there for training.
So it's hard, but I think you.
I bet you
deserve a
didn't
lot
think
for
that at
it.
the time, though, did you?
No.
I definitely thought that.
Yeah, I think we saw a few of you boys. Jamel played a little bit in non-league. Charlie
Played a
probably
lot.
did the best out of
Yeah,
everyone, because he was able to commit a bit more.
Wait, who was better, Charlie or Theo?
Well, I think you just have to say that Morley handled the transition to non-league better, because he made himself more available.
Yeah.
And he played, and he was our best young player in non-league. He won that award, scored some worldies. And I know he's played a bit of non-league since leaving hashtag as well. So I think
Also
Charlie
stayed
was just
fit
more
as well.
available. When you work in the game we work in, particularly if you're making football content, it's almost impossible to be a footballer and to enjoy
I
both.
definitely struggle with that in terms of like you'd know you found this when you were playing Sunday League and but for New Haven, you'd get targeted.
Yeah,
and then
for
and if you get injured, you can't then film videos, you can't do your job. So
Yeah, but Weller's signed back up. with me and the boys at Barkham.
You're back in.
I was training with his team in preparation for the Sidemen match.
Our team.
Our team now.
But you are going to continue playing, no?
Yeah, no. Well, when I have availability,
So
obviously.
you use them for a game?
No, I told them I was like, I want to train for the Sidemen match to get some practice in, but I don't know if long term I can be a footballer.
What level is this? Is this
Yeah, what level is
like
that? It's
incredibly low. Yeah, it's like Saturday League.
Nice. In whereabouts? Back where you're from, or in London?
Yeah, down south. Yeah.
I just find it so mad that Hashtag United are now playing like Lewis and Whitehawk. Because they were always like growing up, being at college, we were next to the dripping pan, and it's like these are the club you want to play for. And now
Lewis.
We're unbeaten against them this year as well. We beat and drew with them both. Beat
Lewis
Whitehawk
are
last week.
They're massive.
No,
Yeah.
do you know what I found from like going to watch a couple of non-league games is like how good you actually have to be to even play at that
Oh
level.
yeah, it's crazy. I
A lot
mean,
of
we
people don't understand.
played our little
No.
YouTube game last week, and there's a lad who works for the fellas, beach blonde hair at the moment. Clevo. And he was the best player there by far. And then they said he plays for step 6. So we play step 3. So like our players would be way better than him, but he was way better than any of us.
Yeah.
And step 6 is hard. Like I don't think I could have played step 6. When we get into that's where we started. So it's the 10th division of England, 6th division of non-league. And I never thought about playing. Even though I was young enough to still do it, I wanted to win the league. So it's different to having a team that can play the level to have to be the best at the level. And I was like, no interest. Maybe I don't even know if I could have squeezed in a bad team at that level, but it's proper.
But don't do an injustice to yourself, Spin. I've seen you score a hat trick in America.
Yeah, imperfect hat trick. One was an own goal, but it was left foot, right foot header though. Left foot,
Right foot headed own goal, wasn't it?
Header was own goal. Yeah, that's right. But no, I mean, I know my level. I'm very good at making other people around me better, and I'm very good at convincing better players than me to play with me. That's my best strength, I think.
I think you're very good at building people up away from football as well.
Yeah,
Yeah, 100%.
take that.
I think it's because you're a good talker. Because obviously, I feel like one of the big reasons you're here is because we had a big chat with you on the way back from
From his game.
Yeah,
Yeah. In
Scotland.
Leeds last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the
Finale.
Leeds one, wasn't it? Not the
Yeah,
Scotland
it was.
one. Yeah,
and we spoke quite in depth about your ayahuasca story,
we did indeed.
which I feel like we should dive into
for
because
sure.
I'm
Yeah.
excited for this.
We bring this up on the podcast. There's mixed reviews in the comments. Some are like, "Oh, you're a drug addict if you want to do psychedelics and brands and all that. Do you talk about it? Do you not?" But I am very much open to explore anything.
Yeah.
And when I heard that you had gone on this journey and it had changed you for the better, and you just had this clarity, I was like, "Wow!" I just want to hear about it.
Talk about it. Ayahuasca is completely different to like smashing loads of gear on a Saturday
course.
night.
yeah.
That's part of the problem, right? Is the fact that they all share the same. It's very worth saying that I did it in another country, so it's where it's legal in that country. It's not illegal. It's not legal in England, and because of that legal status, and people that may be uneducated to it, it's not even their fault because to an extent, the world's done a bit of a job on them in putting these things in the same category. They can't get their head around it. This is a very much. I mean, it's referred to as medicine, really. They call it plant medicine, right?
Would you put it in the same category as like mushrooms, or totally
In
different?
terms of the effect it has on you, similar. So you're talking about like psilocybin, in mushrooms, for example, and the compound that's in ayahuasca, and people talk about things like DMT. They're all very similar, maybe different experiences, different lengths of trips, but ultimately you don't do them for fun. You don't do them as recreation. Maybe some people do mushrooms like that. You're talking about a medicinal plant, right? You're talking about something that's been used for thousands of years for those reasons, and it's not an enjoyable experience, not necessarily, especially if you have a lot of trauma, which is generally people that find themselves drawn to that.
You say mentally or physically?
Both.
Both.
There's a picture you guys can see here, right? That Purge and Merge t-shirt. This is a picture from Costa Rica. So I did it actually 6.5 years ago. It's quite a long time ago. It was 2018. It was the year I turned 30, which is quite apt for you boys. You're all on that
Next year.
journey. And I'm happy to talk about the reasons I went out there. I was not in a good place whatsoever. This was the season you played for us.
Yeah, I remember.
The season that in our first season at non-league, ostensibly to the rest of the world, what a great, we're doing Wembley Cups. We've got a team in non-league, but couldn't have been less happy. Least happy I've ever been in my life.
Wow.
And I knew about ayahuasca. I think it's more known about now. It's one of the reasons I'm a bit more comfortable talking about it now, because anyone that knows me personally over the last 6 years knows how big a part this was in my life, but I've completely shied away from talking about it because, some of the things you talked about, people have been a bit concerned. You run a company that has sponsors. Even though I did it legally, I sought it out in another country, in Costa Rica. You just worry about these things. And I have kept a bit of a squeaky clean image over the years, which I don't think is the real me, to be honest. I think the real me is somewhere between Spencer FC and FIFA player. Like,
Yeah.
And you guys know that because you know me. But Purge and Merge t-shirt is relevant, right? Because one of the things that happens with ayahuasca is something called purging, and it puts a lot of people off. So it can be it can take different forms. Some people yawn uncontrollably. Some people laugh uncontrollably. Most commonly is diarrhea-like symptoms and vomit.
Yeah, symptoms.
Vomit.
The floor is like curled up.
So when
shitting
you
yourself.
sit on this bed and you have a bucket at the end of your bed and you have access to a toilet because you might need it. And there's, so much I can talk about this. Honestly, the podcast will never be long enough for me to tell you everything I know. But in my experience, people that had more trauma purged more. There's one guy, right, who, very successful guy. I went and did it in I was very in my own head about it. Like, thought everyone was going to be a hippie. It's worth saying, before I did this, I had almost zero experiences with drugs. Like I'd done some brownies in Amsterdam. I think that was about it. One occasion. Very like squeaky clean in that sense. I thought everyone's going to be hippies and I'm going to be so out of sorts there. I'm not going to have anything in common with anyone. Couldn't have been further from the truth. And the most at home I probably ever felt in terms of strangers that I felt connected to. And a lot of them, because I went to do it in quite a sort of nice place, were very successful. A lot of them Americans, because in Costa Rica. This guy I'm talking about, right, I won't say the film, but he'd won an Oscar for editing on a film. And he had significant trauma. He was very open about this. You share it when you're out there. And I'm telling you now, what I saw him do, because you do it all together, room about 80 of us in this huge room.
80?
Yeah.
Oh.
And this guy was vomiting. You know, like those Little Britain sketches where they go, and it comes out like that and it doesn't stop. I saw him do that and it didn't stop. And it was like, it was something like Ghostbusters.
Are you like fully
the Team America
conscious
scene?
and aware at
that point, you're sort of tipsy and going in and out of these visions, right? But at this point, everyone in the room was looking at him because it was literally like, woo, like that non-stop. And I was like, what am I seeing? And then the next day, you assume that he's had the worst night of his life, right? The next day, he's like, guys, I'm very aware that you guys just saw me do some pretty inhumane stuff last night. I just want to let you know I had the night of my life. It's the best thing ever. And I actually found out he's a bit of a weird guy because he goes there regularly. Now, the thing about ayahuasca is you don't ever have to do it again. I've never done it again. It 100% fixed me. I'm not here as a salesman, by the way. Some people this will apply to and they'll want to go and do it and they'll understand everything I'm talking about. Some people think I'm a fucking nutcase. And that's fine. If you think I'm a nutcase and you're happy with your life and you're cracking on, I'm really happy for you. I'm really happy for you. You don't need it and you should just enjoy your life. For some people, they need it. I needed it. I needed something to get myself back. To be honest, I think this industry had fucked me. This career, whatever you want to call it, all the things that come with that completely fucked me. And my head was gone and I was done. And it brought me back. How that's not a good thing, I don't know.
So you talk about it fixing you.
I was going to say, what does that mean?
Yeah, what is the process of
What is-
fixing?
Well, so Joe was just on our podcast a minute ago on Internet Dads, and I sort of alluded to it in that. So imagine you're in the worst mood you could ever be in, or you're depressed, or whatever word you want to use. Everything in the world is shit. You have a shit filter for everything, right? So I'm still Spencer, still the same person I've always been, but everything I see is shit. I see the worst version of everyone. I hate, I'm cynical about everything. I hate myself. This is one of the reasons Alex and I broke up around the same time, is because I didn't want kids because I knew I was going to be a good dad, and I knew I loved the idea of being a dad. And anyone watches our Internet Dads podcast knows how much I love talking about being a dad. It's a huge part of my personality now. But I was so miserable that side was being ignored. And I was like, something's not right with me. Why don't I want kids? Because I know having kids is good, but I'm so miserable. Need to fix it. And Alex was of a certain age, so this pressure was on us. So we ended up breaking up because I didn't want kids at the time. This was one of the reasons I brought me back. So I got this shit filter, opposite of rose-tinted spectacles, right? Everything is shit. Like, it was proper depression, I would say. Like, I was doing things that were stupid. I was not looking after myself. Just a very bad version of me. And I had heard about this. A really good friend of mine had done it like 15 years ago now, changed his life. This is I wasn't really aware of Joe Rogan and all these sort of guys talking about it. I maybe heard a few noises, but I mainly knew it from my mate. I was Googling it. I'm a very efficient person, right? I hate wasting time, so I don't like golf. I think golf is too slow, too long. I like
Opposite of your
squash.
brother.
Yeah, I like fast-paced things. I like people trying to strangle me in jiu-jitsu and I've got to fight to survive. I don't like slow things. And I found out that they refer to it as 1,000 hours of therapy in one night. And I'd never done therapy at that point. I have since. And I was like, well, that seems bloody good deal. 1,000 hours of therapy. I haven't got to sit and tell everyone my problems. I can just go inside my brain and fix them. Sign me up. I still went as a huge cynic. I went there. I mean, I'll get into that. But to answer your question, what it did for me, for a varying different experiences, vision. So I did a proper ceremony, a proper week ceremony. So 4 nights in a row of ceremonies. So you're actually taking ayahuasca more than once.
So you did it 4 nights in a row?
4 nights in a row, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And there's loads of things they do to help you. There's a picture there, which is not for the faint-hearted, but is of me having my colonic irrigation.
What does that mean? What's colonic irrigation?
See that tube there?
Yeah.
It goes up your arsehole.
Oh.
Right? And it takes all the waste out of your system. So you
How?
guys don't realise how much waste you've got in you right now. And me too, because I haven't had one since. But
How's that taking it out?
it's like a vacuum. It goes up your arse. And you will not believe what comes out. You won't believe how much.
Would
you never heard of a colonic irrigation?
Does that put you off it?
That's put him off.
No, you don't have to
Wait,
do that.
no.
That's just a
I
bonus.
just didn't realise that's what everyone's just living around with, just up their
Mate,
system all the time.
If you had a bucket here, you could fill it 3 times if just random stuff's in your body right now. I'm not talking about blood. I'm talking about bile and like just juices. And it comes out and it never stops. And you're like, what? Bear in mind, you don't have to do this. It's just a bonus because essentially you
decided to.
It is.
You just get to shove
No, 'cause
stuff
the
up your arse.
less you have in your system, the less you're going to purge, basically. Because how come you be sick and
Yeah, without
whatever
stuff
if you've
in
got
it.
less in your system? So that is a good thing to do.
Is that part of why you're very health conscious now? Is that just from the ayahuasca experience?
What, the colonic irrigation?
Yeah.
I mean, I've not had one since. People do them regularly.
Yeah, they get like enemas and stuff.
So, yeah, and then like it's the same. You stick it up your ass. Put a little DVD. Put a little DVD on, and you fucking enjoy yourself.
I couldn't do that.
So long story short, the 4 ceremonies, and you can ask me any questions you want about it. I've made peace with it now. I'm going to be an open book. I'm going to make a video on my channel talking about like the actual intricacies of it all, because I feel this thing changed my life, right, for the better. And I was in a bad place, and there could be people out there similar to me in a bad place that do not know this is an option, or they've been put off by it by misinformation, right? And there is some health concerns we can talk about, but there's nothing major. No one's dying from it. No one is becoming a worse person from it, crucially. There are drugs out there that turn you into a monster and an animal, and this ain't one. There's a lot of commonalities of the reactions people have from this, by the way. But ultimately, to finish the point, I know I'm going around the houses, that shit filter became the nice filter. So nothing changed. I don't feel about the world any differently, really, to what I ever did. I'm just back to my old self, back to that childish kid who enjoys life and goes around seeing the best in people, wanting the best for people, being positive. So it's a 180 without changing any of my characteristics or traits. I think life is good. I went from not wanting kids because what's the fucking point because life is shit, to what's the point in not having kids because life is ultimately meaningless. So we might as well enjoy it. It's the same idea, it's just flipped.
But do you recommend it to everyone or to certain people? Like, I think for me and Luke, I think you feel the same as I do. I see. What's the point for me? Because I'm like, I'm actually more scared that it will actually.
Yeah.
It could turn me the other. Yeah, imagine if like I've got the rose tinted filter.
You don't need it.
Imagine if it 180 that.
No, exactly. You shouldn't do it. And I
Do you think it's possible for it to do that, or
No,
is it? Can it only if you're already sound and you don't need to purge anything, you don't need to fix any trauma? Surely you just
it
stay
can't
the same.
Listen, I'm telling you right now. I'm not saying you should do it. I actually think you're right to not want to do it, but your reasons are wrong. Like it won't turn you in. You just have if you've got no trauma, no issue, you just have some interesting visions, and it'd be.
What if we don't realise we actually have the other shade on?
This is the thing. You have to be very intentional in this stuff.
Yeah.
Very intentional. So you're literally saying intentions in your brain. You're talking to experts before you do it, and you're explaining what you're here for, what you want to do. You're journaling. I've got a whole book of stuff I wrote during and after all these ceremonies. And you're unpacking so much information. So to achieve it, and people very close to me have done it since as well, and everyone has slightly different reactions, but to achieve it, you'll be very intentional. And I say this, you know how I feel about you. You know you're one of my favourite people. And I say this with nothing but love. You do not need to do ayahuasca. Because you are someone that I am envious of in a way, who goes through life so happily. And in my opinion, I don't know, everyone goes through things, right?
Simple.
But generally, well, I say the same, my partner Alex is the same. They just go through life without having to analyse everything to the degree that my brain does. And I have a completely different connection to Joe, who's also someone I care about. But I look at Joe in a way that I think we're much more similarly wired. And you and I do fixate on these things. And when I watch your pod, and I do watch it, and I watch you two react to each other, I think it's so funny because it reminds me of me and Alex in a way, because you're such a kind person, Theo, and you like, I honestly love you and I want the best for you, but you just don't get it. You just don't get what is going on in our brain at all. And sometimes I wish I was more like you, because it would be an easy existence for me, an easier existence than my life has brought. But you got to be true to yourself, whatever, you know.
Do you see like wild shit though?
You know,
Yeah,
what is the
Yeah.
experience? What actually is from start to finish? What do you see? What do you feel? What
you
do you
accompanied
experience?
by
Anything
someone the whole time?
that Spencer could say that would put you off doing it?
Or the bum thing?
I know, it's not- if I like, only if I actually turn into a bad person, wanting to kill people, wanting to do anything. But if it's like, from what I've been told, is like it's like you
Well,
get clarity.
I'll give
So-
you the full picture. So like there is some caveats for doing something like ayahuasca, right? So, and where I went, you have a full medical and stuff before. So you can't have high blood pressure because of what it does to your system. It's bad for you to do that. But also you can't have any serious mental disorders. Now, I'm not talking about depression. I'm talking about schizophrenia, bipolar, things like this, because, or at least not undiagnosed. They need to know what medication you're on, because that can take a turn. And there was a guy there who took a turn. There was a guy there, in the full interest of disclosure, who went a bit mad and started trying to beat himself up. And they tied him to a tree because he was doing damage to himself. But he didn't tell people that he was on, and the next day it came out that he was on severe medication for a serious mental disorder. So he shouldn't really have been there. Likewise, some really interesting things come out of it. Like, people will have an opinion on this, but it's true. They don't let women do it if they're on their period. You can't do it because, again, this is going to sound like hippie shit, but it's all connected to the fucking moon and the waves and all this stuff. It's proof that when women live together, their cycles connect, all these things. There's a lot of stuff we don't understand. And every medicine has a almost gender. You get like a female drug and a male drug and masculine drug, and what they create in you.
So you'd be mocking this if I was saying this right now.
No, the
so
cycle thing
go on,
is true.
say with chest what you think.
The cycle thing
Everyone's
is true.
thinking it, aren't they? Go on, Theo.
I've never mocked ayahuasca.
Oh, fuck
I do
off,
think-
cunt.
I've mocked you
Bits
doing
off.
magic mushrooms, saying you went to outer space when you're on the side of the road. That's funny. But I'm well on.
True, though.
I'm well on the. I'm well on the board with like women's periods do like link.
Live on air.
Live.
No, listen, it's
But I find it interesting.
I have no issue with people thinking it's a bit weird, because you know what? I was one of them. Like, my mate I told you about who did it, I used to take the piss out of him for it. I was the guy that was going around to people going, he's done ayahuasca, he's fucking off his head. I was that guy. And do you know what? I was literally that guy until I did it. Even when I was there,
of course.
I had so much cynicism about it. I was at loose ends. So I was like, my attitude was, it's the only thing I've got left to try it.
Yeah.
And this sounds a bit dark, but I was like, if this doesn't work, you know, there's other things I can do to just get myself out of my own brain, like generally.
Right.
So I threw myself at it and I committed to it. But even the first night, the place I went is so scientific about it because they've done it so many thousands of times. The guy goes, 98.9% of you in this room are going to get your miracle, whatever you came for. And some people, I have to say, and I did feel a bit of guilt out of this, are there to escape much more significant trauma than me. My issues were neuroses, 21st century problems, like whatever. Some people there had victims of sex, child abuse, horrible stuff. And that's as impactful as what I went through is seeing those people change in front of me, seeing people shed trauma in front of me, change in 1 week from this person to this person. I have physical proof for it. And these guys go, 98.9% of you are going to get what you came for. You're going to think it's the best thing you've ever done in your life. I'm one of them. 20% of you are going to get it night one. Another 60% of you are going to get it night two. Some of you are going to get it last few days. Some of you will think this has been a waste of time, and then we'll do some breath work on the final day and you'll get it then. And this all came true, all of it. First night, there was this big 6'5" American Harvard professor. And he was like the big, alpha male guy. And he'd been walking around like he owned the place. And the first night, we were all sharing at the end, as you do. You don't have to, but you can get in the circle and we'll talk about what you've been through. And he's like crying his eyes out. And he's like, I've just shed 50 years of trauma, all the things he's been dealing with. And, you could tell he had it earlier that day because he was a bit of a dick, basically, in the day. And I was like, why are you being such a dick? And he suddenly wasn't. He was this lovely guy. And he's crying his eyes out. This is the best thing I've ever done. Even in that moment, one night in, I was like, in my head, you are full of shit. You're a fucking plant. They've put you in here to make us all think this is legit because I haven't got fuck all from the first night. That was my honest reaction whilst there. Second night, I went over to him, crying my eyes out and said, I'm so sorry. You don't know this, but I thought you were full of shit yesterday. I now know you're telling the truth. These experiences, some people watching this will think I'm a nutcase. But when you experience them, they're so powerful. They're so powerful. There was another guy who was an MMA fighter, a French-Canadian guy, and he... First night, so his visions that he'd had, You know, and like I say, the visions themselves are not recreational. They could be taking you through some pretty dark moments in your life, things that don't make sense, things about other people, all kinds of things. He's sharing the last night, really emotional, and he's like, all night, I have been getting dragged down to hell, and I've felt every bump and bruise along the way, and they've been pulling my arms off, pulling my legs off, and I physically felt it. It's been the worst thing I've ever done. I couldn't stop it. It kept going on over and over. I can't do it again tomorrow. I can't do that again tomorrow. It's ruining me. Right? And you're like, fuck, I feel so sorry for this guy. And then the shaman, the guy who's taking the whole sort of ceremony, he goes, what were you doing when they were trying to pull you apart? And like, you know, this pain. He goes, well, I was fighting back. I'm a fighter. It's what I do. He went, tomorrow night, let them do it. So I'm like, well, what does that even mean? Second night, where all of us have had this amazing night, I was enjoying myself and what I'd gone through. And I turned around. You're not really supposed to talk at this point, but I turned around and I looked at him and I was like, did you get what you came for? Did you get what you came for? And he locked eyes with me and he like both started crying. He was like, yes, I did. And I felt so good for him in that moment. I've seen this guy sharing this stuff. So listen, for some people, everything I'm saying will go completely over their head.
No, fucking.
And I look, but that's fine.
Say it. Who cares?
You talk about those other people's experience. What did you experience? If you want,
in terms of like what I saw and things.
yeah.
So many.
So
different things.
when you get there, you do like the introduction, all these medicals and stuff. How do you like start from the beginning? How did you take it?
It's a drink. It's a drink. It's not a nice tasting drink either. It's
I thought it was the smoke.
no, you do the things. There's a thing called rape, which they can do earlier in the day. It's optional, and it's like a thing where they blow it up your nose and stuff. It's almost like a tobacco-y caffeine thing. Quite powerful. And it's supposed to add to the effect, but you don't need to do any of that. Ayahuasca is a drink. It's a natural drink. Right? All this stuff is natural. It's in nature. It comes from vine leaves in the jungle. Like it's not. This is the thing, right? You know, it's not made in a lab.
No.
It literally grows, just like mushrooms do. They grow. And
that's
some
always the
people believe
argument.
they've been put there for a reason, you know?
Isn't it? That's always the argument of why they're different. It's not like cocaine, which has to go through like an incredible amount of processing to be derived as cocaine.
I mean, you have to ask yourself, why is it illegal as well?
Yeah, that's
so
what. First time I did
First
I did mushrooms, I was like, this makes sense why it's illegal. Because if everyone did this, they wouldn't conform to the bollocks and live in fear and just be. It was just like it makes sense why they've made it illegal to me, the higher powers, and make it seem like this awful thing. When really,
Well,
I think it can be very
alcohol
beneficial
was
for everyone.
Illegal only 120 years ago.
Yeah, but alcohol is actually detrimental. Like
That's the thing. That's the one that should be illegal for a bit.
yeah, they're putting it in the same category as alcohol, but like mushroom side, like this sort of thing, ayahuasca, I feel like it's in its own
If the
own
world
league.
was created now and it was equal and everything was right, you know, I'm not saying alcohol should be illegal, but it's way more closer to have to be illegal than this is. This is one of the best medicines in nature. You take it once and you never take it again. Is that not the definition of a good medicine? I take painkillers all the time if I have an issue or whatever. They don't fix you. They mask the pain.
Plaster.
And like other things people do to escape pain, drinking, whatever, then none of them fix the problem. And ayahuasca I did one time, as in one ceremony or 1 week, and I've never gone back to those dark thoughts. I've never gone even close to that level of misery, and I've never thought about doing it again. The only reason I would do it again would be if I had a friend who wanted to do it and they wanted me there, and I would happily go and do it and experience it again, but I have no trauma. I have nothing to fix.
Yeah. So when you've taken that first dose then, like what is the instant effect?
It's not instant at all. It take ages. It can take hours. You know, you might be sleepy. You might even doze off. You have a little bed.
Do you chat with people during?
No, they say no talking because you want to get in your own space. You know, you don't want to like be impacting other people's experience either because they're doing their own stuff. But takes a while. They encourage you to like walk around a little bit if you want to. And I did get things from those little things I did as well. The first night, I mean, I've got this in my notes at home. The first night, I didn't get a great deal. I saw some interesting things, some interesting visions. What's so crazy about the stuff? Because a lot of it's, you know, stuff that's in the back of your brain, and you kind of forget that you knew it, but you do know it, and it's deep in there, and it brings it out. And it's stuff that like it's just not relevant. Like you think is not relevant. Like if someone said to me, "What are the 10 things you're going to see in your brain when you do ayahuasca that might have created some sort of trauma?" Or like there was things that wouldn't have even been on the 100 list that came up, like. Things like, I had this crazy situation where I basically was in my granddad's coffin with him. Right, so my granddad had died when I was 7. I hadn't seen him since I was 7. I was inside his coffin. He was alive in there with me. And I had forgotten that I knew, and I do think I'd known it, but it was so back in my brain memory that he never knew his real dad, right? He was raised by a stepdad. And I'd never, if you'd asked me before, the ceremony, did your granddad get raised by his real dad? I probably would have been like, yeah, because I'd forgotten that information, right? It wasn't that relevant. Suddenly, I'm in this coffin with my granddad and he's crying. Now, that alone is a really surreal moment. This is a man who I haven't seen since I was 7, who was a stoic, classic old army guy, whatever. And he's crying. And I find myself consoling him. And one of the things they do say about ayahuasca is you don't just heal your own trauma, you might heal generational trauma, or you might heal ancestors' trauma, which does carry, we carry trauma in our bodies. You carry trauma in your hips. You've had some issues with your hips. Mm-hmm. But like, these things are all proven to be real. And so anyway, I'm in this coffin with my granddad. He's crying to me. I'm like, what's up, granddad? It's such a surreal thing anyway. I'm an adult consoling my 20 years dead granddad, who I haven't seen since then. And he's like, I never knew my dad. And I'm like, okay, I'm really sorry you went through that, granddad. And I'm thinking about what to say. And this is all happening in my brain, yeah? And I'm like, but all I can tell you is like, my dad is a legend. Like, you did such a good job on your son. And I had the best dad. And like, so whatever you went through, you didn't pass it on. So like, you've got to just make peace of it now, mate. Like, it's okay, And he's like, suddenly you feel this energy lifted off him. And then he starts crying again. And he goes, when's Nan going to come? When's Nan going to come? And I'm like, oh, well, mate, Nan's like doing really well. Like, we see her all the time. She's doing really well. You just have to wait a bit longer, but she will come. And when I got back, she died 9 days later. And I spent the whole Christmas, Alex and I were separate at the time, and I spent the whole Christmas, it was just me, my mum, dad, and my nan. For various reasons, brothers were doing other things with their missuses. And like, me and my nan had a good relationship, but I remember feeling really close to her that Christmas, and I was like, putting my arm around her, sitting on the sofa, watching films together. And unfortunately, we found her passed away a few days later, but of a health issue. But how funny that my granddad said that to me less than 2 weeks before.
Yeah.
Well, you can read into that what you want to read into it, but that was one of the things. Some more practical stuff I got from it. So when I wasn't getting enough from it, I went for a little walk around. There was this fire outside, and it's just, they say, go and sit by the fire, and they say, ask the fire things, ask it for advice, see what happens, and just encourage these things. It's like elemental power, whatever. So I'm sitting down by the fire. And I'm like, what's going on here then? Like, can you give me some tips? And the fire's not saying anything. I'm like, this is a fucking waste of time. And you obviously have like workers and stuff who are going around, porters of like the place we're at, and they're just very respectful and silent, but they're all there and I'm super aware of them. I'm sitting there and I'm getting in my like neurotic modern day man Spencer brain. I'm like, everyone just fuck off. I'm trying to have a spiritual experience here. There's so much noise, really annoying, getting annoyed about nothing. And then I just hear this voice on the fire and it says, because sometimes those people were there milling around and sometimes they weren't. It was like annoying me. You talk like that, maybe an ADHD element in there about distraction, whatever. And the fire just goes, chill out. Sometimes there'll be people, sometimes there won't. And I start saying this back and over as a mantra, because this was right in the crux of when Alex and I were considering breaking up. And we literally broke up the day after I left Costa Rica. We met in New York for a holiday and we broke up the first day. Jeez. And then we did the holiday together anyway. It's very funny, but weird. But the thing was saying to me, sometimes there'll be people, sometimes there won't be people. And to that, it can sound quite nothing sentence, but I started going over my head. And then I just had this vision about my granddad or whatnot. So I was using it as a way of thinking about death, and which ended up being really useful because my nan passed away a week later. But then I started applying it to this relationship issue. And I was like, I knew I needed to break up with Alex. Nothing to do with Alex, all to do with me and my own journey. I needed to have some time away because I was done, like with everything. But it's really hard to make that change, isn't it? It's really hard to do that. And that advice, sometimes there'll be people, sometimes there won't. You're on a journey. Sometimes you'll have a partner, sometimes you won't. Sometimes it just became this like little motto that kept playing in my head. It just came to me from the fire. Like, I don't know what that means. I don't know why this stuff happens. Honestly, I don't know if ayahuasca is a gift from the gods that is connecting us with some inner truth from the universe, or it's just a plant that makes your brain do crazy shit and it's all actually stuff that's in your brain already. I don't care. It works. I don't need to know.
And when you're having, like, you're hearing those things, or you're getting the communication, is it thoughts that come in your head that are like planted via, or you've got your eyes shut and you're seeing it? Like, how is it coming across?
It was just a, like, epiphany. It's just an idea that came to me whilst these people were going in and out. And that's more the way I experience this stuff. Some people with ayahuasca, they have a lot of serpent and snake related visions. I didn't get any of that. Some people have loads of sacred geometry. I didn't get any of that really. But there's a lot of common themes that you get from this stuff. Mine is much more like, honestly, I'll bore you to death with the stuff I could tell you of the visions I had and things. Like, I had one experience where this is a good example of how it uses things that are in your brain already. So I don't know if you guys are into Lord of the Rings at all.
Yeah,
but-
massively.
So like the Balrog.
Yeah.
So the Balrog is the big dragon thing that
dark.
takes Gandalf down. And he says, "Oh, you shall not pass," and all that.
Yeah.
Stuff, right? It's this big. It's basically if you were to create an image of like a hellish
Yeah.
devil.
Oh, is it him?
creature,
Yeah.
This is what you create.
on screen right now.
So I had this one on one of the latter nights. I had this thing where I was sprinting in the exact sort of the bridge of Khazad-dûm, which is the name of that place, straight at the Balrog. Imagine the scariest thing you can imagine coming towards you in life. Not some big rugby player about to tackle you. This is the devil incarnate.
Definition
right?
of hell, yeah.
And he's running at me and I'm running at him and we're going to have a face-off, right? And it's like a little bit like what that guy had when he was going down to hell. Every time we'd go into each other and I was like, feel it, bang, bang, feeling like the war wounds of trying to kill each other. Horrible. I kept repeating it over and over and over again. And eventually I was like exhausted from it because in your brain you think it's really happening. You feel like it's happening. So I'm going at it this last time. I'm like, oh, I'm not going to come at it with hate anymore. I'm going to come at it with love. So as he goes to like get me, I sort of like dive inside him. It's almost like Matrixy. All these, I do believe these ideas are put in your brain and you use them from things you've seen before to learn the lesson you're trying to learn. So it's almost like the Matrix when he goes inside Agent Smith at the end. He goes inside. I go inside the Balrog and all the time I'm in there, I'm just like metaphorically hugging him and basically just going, look, it's okay. We don't need to fight. Let's be friends. And I started to realize that like maybe this guy was me and maybe he was like my ego and like this thing I need to make peace with. Suddenly we just go like flying into the sky. We're like one creature flying into the sky. I can see all the universe. I can see all the stars, everything. I'm like, oh my God, this is the most crazy thing ever. And then we come crashing straight back down to earth, smash through the ground, and then are reborn as a tree. And I was like, sick.
That's going on in your mind,
All going
you
in my
think.
mind.
But
I
you
can
think,
see it now. Like I can.
Yeah. See, that's obviously, I've mentioned it about 1,000 times on this podcast, but my mushroom trip after my meditation retreat was similar. It made me think, I wonder if the meditating got me closer to that. I wanted to ask, do they make you do any sort of meditating or breath work leading up to having these sorts of experiences?
So I've got a picture on my phone somewhere. It's like the full schedule of the week.
Right.
And
Oh,
a
interesting.
lot of it's optional. There's things you've got to do. Like you need to do ceremonies, obviously, if that's what you're there for. There's loads of things like meditation, yoga, but some of them I'd never done yoga before that trip. I did yoga for the first time that trip. I've done it a lot since. I'd probably never really meditated before. They had stuff like ecstatic dance, where you blindfold yourself and you dance freely. It's like really weird at first. You're like, I feel so weird until you get comfortable. Being like an eye on the wall in that room would have been hilarious. So move around. So out your comfort zone.
Did in the
stuff.
Philippines. It's mad.
And this was so alien to me at the time. And yeah, they're just not these guys. You can do it in many different ways. Ayahuasca. You can go and do it in the Peruvian Amazon in like a hut, and it's very laid back and stripped back. And I do think there's a little bit of like psychedelic tourism going on, which I don't necessarily agree with. If I ever do this stuff, I do it very deliberately. It is like therapy. It's like, or I might have a problem in life that I need to fix, and I actually have developed an ability to access those parts of my brain. Like I can go in with intention. I want to solve this problem. I come out with the answer.
Is that as a result of ayahuasca?
Well, it has to be because I've never done anything like it before. But it's just from practice, and I think, I think that there's a load of ways you can get there, and I think people can achieve everything I've talked about through traditional therapy. I think you can achieve it through running. Some people get addicted to running, and that is their safe place.
For sure.
Like, it doesn't have to be this psychedelic experience whatsoever.
Do a lot of thinking when running.
For me, running doesn't do it for me because it's not getting me out of my brain enough. And this is what did it for me. And I have done therapy since on issues that are way less of a big issue in my life, just trying to explore things. And I've learned a lot from it. I don't get the same effect. Like, one thing that they told me when I was there was that it's like a long process when you do it. It's a bit wanky, right? But they say like the process starts before you even take ayahuasca, because once you book it and you've accepted the fact that you're going to open yourself up to something, your brain's already out of its comfort zone. Then you go and do it. Then it does stay in your system for a long time. So I had super lucid dreams afterwards. So where I mean like, and this is about 6 months afterwards I was having these.
6 months.
I could go to bed and I could go, this is what I'm going to dream about tonight. I'd just choose what I want to dream about. And not only would that happen, I would control the dream 100% like a computer game, right?
That is sick.
And one of the things that I talked about on our Internet Dads pod is, so I wasn't sure if I wanted kids. I knew I needed loads of things to fix when I did ayahuasca. came out of it, and then one night, and it was, me and Al broken up. You know, we both saw other people almost a year apart, other relationships, or not relationships, but, you know, like dating people, whatever. And one night I go to bed and I just have this dream, super lucid dream. I'm in this house. I could tell you the exact town this house is in. It doesn't exist in real life, but in the dream it did. And I'm walking around a house and there's 4 bedrooms. And the first bedroom I go and I see a child, and I know it's my child, and it's gone to sleep. And, you know, the little cozy feeling, tuck them in, and nice, lovely. Second one, another child. Third one, another child. The fourth one's my room, and I look in the room and I see Alex asleep. This is when me and Alex are separate. That dream was a gift, because it gave me the feeling of fatherhood that I'd never felt before. You know, we've just talked on our pod about some insecurities that you might have around it. Like, imagine you just were gifted you know, when I said to you, like, it's not a chore what you think it is, because when you have the child, you love it so much, they're giving you something back. Yeah. Like, it's not one way. Imagine if I could gift you that feeling in a dream tonight. Yeah. That's what happened to me. I woke up, and from that dream on, it was in May 2019, I've been 100% sure I needed kids, wanted to have kids. It was a huge factor in why Alex and I got together. We were lucky enough to like reconnect. We got on it straight away and had kids. It all came from that dream.
Wow. That makes me wonder then, like, are dreams, do you reckon they're more than just imaginations? Like, do you think, say like the visions that you're having through ayahuasca, do you think maybe on a lesser level, like when people are dreaming at night and they're maybe having some sort of like big symbolic thing occur, that actually there is a deeper meaning behind it?
Well, so we know we don't use all of our brains, right? We know the human seems only using like, what is it, like 30% of our brains or whatever. So there's so much. Do you know that we are, like, by all intentions of the definition, we're all legally blind, right? Like, by that I mean, so you imagine you see 100% of what there is to see as a human, because your eyes work 100%. If someone only saw 20% of what they see because they had an eye issue, we'd call them legally blind. Yeah. Because they don't see everything. Mm-hmm. But we only see less than like 3% of what there is in the world. You know there's atoms. We know there's atoms between us right now, don't we?
Yeah.
We don't see them. We know that dogs can hear earthquakes or feel earthquakes coming through. These things that we can't explain.
Yeah. But then you have people that, because they can't perceive it, they just say it doesn't exist and just make out like you're mental.
That's absolutely not what we do ever.
Mate, there's literally like 55 podcasts of you saying it over and over again.
You can't see Wi-Fi. I know that exists.
That's what I say to you.
It's literally he's just stolen your saying. He came up with it.
Whales communicate through sonar. I can't see sonar.
But no, but what we're saying is, if you take that logic and you apply it to stuff that you would probably think aren't true. Like, my personal opinion on this, I don't have an opinion either way. Like, I don't know what's real and what's fake. I don't mind if you think something different to me. It's all fine. I'm just a very open book. Like, someone said to me, there's definitely no aliens. I say, you can't say that. You know what? One thing that I was quite lucky with, I think, is that I had all this happen before COVID. And I know we don't want to get too technical on that stuff, but my mind was already open when all that stuff went on. Mm-hmm. So I think that helped me a lot in understanding what was happening around us, in front of us. And I think a lot of people, COVID was that thing that woke them up a little bit and made them realize to maybe look at the news a bit differently or whatever, you know. So I'm just very open to things that maybe right now I think are wrong being right, or I think that's informed the way I've lived my life over the last sort of 6-7 years.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people have like the story of their life that they like to live by and they're comfortable with. Like, this is what is, and actually, even if it is bollocks, like, I'm okay with that because it makes me feel safe. I think majority of people actually do.
But do you think there's anything wrong with that?
No, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. But I wanted to gauge your idea on, like, say if they are actually being hidden, like sheltering themselves from the truth, which is actually far better than this like limited story that they're telling themselves. Would you say actually these people
it's
should
red pill, blue pill scenario, isn't it? Or is it good to take the red pill? The answer is if you feel the need to. So if you're happy, then leave him alone. He's smashing it. If you feel a need for answers, then explore that. You know what I mean? This is a good example. This, you know, it's clear if you didn't know already that I think a lot about this stuff. And I had this weird little would you rather I come up with when I was like 20. And it was like, would you, if someone said to you now, you can go into space, you're taken, I don't know if you've seen the end of Space Odyssey, 2001 Space Odyssey, it's kind of like this a little bit. It's a crazy ending. You should watch it if you haven't watched it. Stanley Kubrick film. You get taken to this corner of space and you get the answers, right? You find out exactly anything you could ever want to know the answer to. Is there a meaning of life? Is there a God? What's it all about? Are we a simulation? Is there a... Whatever you care about, you know, 100%, and then you die. straight away. Would you do that? Now, it sounds, I think most people, I'm pretty sure Theo would probably say no.
Yeah, no point.
Exactly. And there was a time when I was like, yeah, because I'm not comfortable not knowing the answers. Or like, if I knew I could find out, I need to find out. I'd be the only human in the history of the world to ever actually know. But now I do say no. But that's because I've got kids.
I was going to say, but what would you do with that information if you're dead?
But yeah, of course, and it sounds a bit bleak, and I'm not saying I have that opinion now, but for some people, having the answers is more important than living.
Well, I think that's almost prioritizing the end result rather than the journey.
Of course, yeah.
Because if you're just trying to just get the result, it's like not watching the football game, just looking at the result at the end. You haven't had any of the experience of the game.
But to take that one idea further, in this case, it's not about the journey. It's about understanding you will never achieve that. There is no journey. In this case, that total, one of the things that came to me whilst I was in Costa Rica and I was doing some meditation in between the ceremonies is this idea of, I think we all do this to an extent, but I definitely used to do it a lot, is like wanting to, if not know everything, at least give across the idea that I knew everything. You know how someone says to you, you've seen that film? I don't know if you ever relate to this or not, but you might just lie and say you've seen it when you haven't. Or you might be like, oh yeah, is that one? Oh, I don't know if I'm in that. Yeah, I might have seen that.
Yeah.
You know you haven't seen it. Like, because we just want to give off this idea. Or someone asks you a question about something you might know the answer to. You just say it like you really know it because you want people to know it. I definitely used to do that. I had to make peace with this idea of, and it says it in my journal at home. It says like, it's okay not to know. Like,
Yeah, not having everything figured out, mate. Well, it was the beginning of this year. That was the biggest thing I did. I go, I just don't have this all figured out, and I'm willing to be guided. Like I accept, because I used to feel like I need to actively. I don't want to be lazy. I need to actively sought after the answers and figure things out.
Well, look at the world we live in now, right? If you don't know, you find out instantly if you're Googling something, right? We've lost this ability to be curious, to not know something is like, it's a crime because you can find out really quickly. Why wouldn't you just Google it? Why wouldn't you just find out? Like, and we're losing something of our humanity in that, no doubt about it. We might be becoming more efficient and more technologically advanced, but we're losing something of the act of existing. No doubt about it.
I think that's one of your biggest growths over the last year, is that you were willing to like accept that you don't have it all figured out. And it's not about knowing everything and being in control of everything. It's about being on that journey of like, oh, this is going to happen. How do I deal with it? This is going to happen. How do I deal with it? Not having complete control of everything.
It is actually very true. And I think it's what's now allowed me to actually like move forward career-wise.
Also personally as well.
Yeah, personally as well. Yeah, no, 100%. I think Wafflin has always played a big role in that as well. It helped me when I was in a dark place, say after the fight, and then now coming back and wanting to, get things going again. Yeah, offloading control like we have here. We've literally got a really strange, creepy producer, man.
But if you look only a few years ago, Joe, you couldn't even bear the thought of anyone touching even a Wafflin edit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I had to edit that, yeah. And I think honestly, if I did ayahuasca, I think there'd be a major thing around like that control.
Yeah.
Like that mushroom trip that I did, the most recent one, that ego thing that you're saying, mate, when I would look down, it's like I would see this horrible, evil thing. And I'm like, it took me like an hour, but I realized that's me. And that's the me that I can feed by doing certain behaviors.
Yeah.
And to me, then it was sugar, caffeine, and just like pornography, like, all these things that like feed that like fucking side. And I could see it, and it was so obvious.
When you do a bit of like, if you learn about sort of more traditional therapy, you learn about the ego and you learn about the understanding that it isn't you. It's something separate to you, and it's a tool that we can use. There's a Kanye West song called "Ego" that I really like. I know Kanye West isn't the number favorite guy right now, but the line is really good. It's like, it's me and my ego. It goes wherever we go. My ego is my imaginary friend. He was with me when I was only imagining. I had dreams of the league. One day I play Kobe, walk up to Puff, dodgy one, and he'd already know me. Could have let the dream killers kill my self-esteem, but used the arrogance as the steam to power my dreams. That is how an ego should be used. Yeah. Ego should be used as a weapon to turn on and off to achieve something that maybe you're anxious about or you're scared about. So you go into bravado on my ego. But it has to be turned off again, and it can't define you as a person. And I only know this stuff because of these experiences. I wasn't aware of this stuff.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying about that. That's downloaded to you. Like, where's that come from?
Well,
where's
does it not
you
come
know what I mean?
If you ask me what I believe, and I'm not tied to any beliefs that I'm not open to be challenged on, but I do believe that we're losing touch with the sort of nature side of our existence, and this is something that is out there whether it's been put there or it's just there, because just like fruit is there. I mean, how amazing that a banana grows on a tree. Like, it's this incredible thing.
It comes in a
people like.
protective case.
Like, everything's just perfect, right? So maybe actually the world has this unbelievable harmony,
Yeah.
and we're just fucking it. All this other stuff we're doing, this is bringing us back.
When you go to this place, or when you went to that place, did you think this is all just coming from my mind, or this is being sent from?
I don't know. I still don't know, but I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, you know, The Life of Pi, you know that story?
Yeah.
That's the whole point of that book, right? You don't know whether the cool version of the world happened to him on the boat with the animals, or the horrible version, which is that all his family ate each other or whatever it is. No one can prove it, so they just decide to believe the good one.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. You don't need to know. You just, like,
Doesn't matter.
all I know is this: it shouldn't be illegal. It definitely shouldn't be illegal, because it could change people's lives. And look at some of the studies that are being done on veterans from the war with PTSD and stuff, and using psilocybin or even MDMA. Lots of different things that are being used in clinical tests. It's giving crazy results. You know, and what are we saying is good in society? Oh, here's some antidepressants. You know,
Yeah, no,
and I'm
that's
not
the thing.
judging anyone that needs antidepressants or relies on them, but it doesn't have to be the only way. And if you look into it and you really research, you find out there was a movement in the 60s, like in America, towards like using LSD and these sorts of things to help us, and it was shut down, you know, because it was waking people up. And what I would say is, if you look at the general reactions to people that do this sort of thing, right? The most important thing is that no one gets worse from it. If you can have a bad trip, I've had a bad shroom trip before.
Yeah,
when I've
likewise.
been in the wrong environment with the wrong people, and it wasn't enjoyable. But it's set and setting are really important, right? You've got to be the right mindset and be in the right setting with the right people you trust. But if you do all that, I don't know of anyone that's had a bad one. And I don't know anyone that's gone to an ayahuasca retreat and come back and gone, you know what? I need to work harder and make more money. I need to be a bit more of a scumbag. I need to be more ruthless in business. Mostly people come out, and if I'm honest, they have a slightly lower work ethic, which has definitely happened to me. Not to say that that's a bad thing, by the way. It's like a dirty word, isn't it? I don't work as hard as I used to. No, because I like to enjoy my 2 children, actually. I like to have fun with them. I like to be present in the moment. I still work hard, but I don't work based on what other people are doing. And they usually have a slightly more bigger connection to nature. They usually feel a bit more at home in nature. They want to help nature. I never gave a shit about nature, if I'm honest, before. And then I started being a bit more cognizant of global warming and composting, all these sorts of things that I don't see how they're bad for the planet. You know, I had a better relationship with my parents. I was way more empathetic about other people. Like, and that is so typical of everyone's experiences. How is this illegal?
Yeah. Did you feel like you were operating more with love now rather than just like selfish I need to better myself,
selfish
achieve the
thing
best?
didn't do it for me, did it? Okay, it made me some money, gave me some success in a traditional sense, and I've got no issue with how I lived my life previously, and I had no regrets. But I wasn't going to get to 35. I wouldn't have got there. So it stopped working, and I needed to find another way to live. This is what helped me do that. I actually am really happy I was the way I was, because it set me up in a way for my life now. So it's very hard when I'm thinking about my kids and I'm thinking about, do I want to expose them to these ideas super young? Because maybe I needed all that ego.
Yeah, you
know
don't
what
want
I
to have all
mean?
the answers just given. You know,
No.
you need to go through. Do you recommend like going to do it with anyone that you already know? Because I spoke to a YouTuber that's actually done it, and he was like, mate, I'd actually suggest doing it with people that you've never met before.
That's what I did, yeah. I didn't know any of them.
So do you think it would have been different if you went with people you already knew?
I think it probably depends on you and what your like coping mechanisms are. Like, I want it to be away from everyone. I want to do my own thing, but I've also got that sort of personality. Like, I'm very happy being on my own and just cracking on with stuff. I've got other mates who I know would love to do it, but they're like, oh, come with me, and they need that helping hand, and I'd be happy to give it to them. But I think it's really important that you don't let other people impact your experience. But yeah, essentially, the reason it was all made illegal, really, there's this whole movement in America called tune in and drop out. And it was basically this idea that people that had woken up to the realities of the world and were no longer fixated on money or keeping up with the Joneses, which are all ideas put into us in school. Again, anyone that you've watched Internet Dads, you know that I'm exploring alternative schooling options and stuff for my kids now, because I have my own opinions on whether they're all good ideas that are put in you at school. But this stuff we think it's natural. We think it's like normal to be obsessed with how much we work or how much success we have, or what, being worried about comparison and all these things that Instagram is a great example of. It's ideas that have been put in us, and this is a process of undoing that. So if you're an American culture that is very much about the economy and growth and work. And that's what the higher ups are trying to get everyone to achieve.
Yeah.
They don't want everyone tuning in, dropping out, going back to the land, buying farms and just chilling out. So they made it illegal.
Yeah, I think like that was something I noticed with the mushrooms thing. That all belief systems that I had like preconceived, like that I'd built my whole life, were just challenged and just boom from zero. And it was almost like being opened to like what is rather than like what I'd been conditioned. And I wonder, like, you know, we are conditioned to be like, oh yeah, let's drink this bottle of actual poison that you can buy from Tesco for 25 quid, vodka, like every weekend, something like that. Actual poison. But that's all right. All the different fucking shit they'll put in these different drinks, like Coca-Cola, whatever, massive McDonald's, all of it. Yeah, smash that. But this thing, there's actually like pure clarity on what is actually important.
And a natural product as well.
Yeah, that gets put into this category of like, man. Like,
I had a great
I just find that
conversation
nuts.
me and your missus had an amazing conversation after the Simon game. It might have been over an hour long.
2 hours,
Yeah, maybe in the hotel hallway.
Standing.
And we were chatting about all kinds of things, but I was talking about like food and my interest in food and like. So I read a book called Ultra Processed People, which I really recommend. I actually listened to it on an audiobook, and it changed the way I look at food. I've always ate healthily. I've always cared about what I eat. But this gave me a sort of toolkit, if you like, for what to not eat. And it's really simple, really. It's just don't eat too much stuff with an ingredient you don't have in your kitchen. Like, don't eat stuff with all these chemical names on it. Eat stuff that's natural. And I have never been healthier in every metric. I'm the fittest I've ever been. I've got the least fat on me I've ever been. I don't even try that hard. Now, I have a certain body type. We all have genetics we have to work with. But, like, I can't put weight on. Because when you eat normal, natural food, these other foods are designed to make you snack more and eat more, like in literally the way they work, the way they attack your insulin receptors and all these things. Even the diet ones are bad. The Diet Coke, for example, this is all the stuff I learned in this book, and I'll probably butcher the explanation a bit, but like we've been growing up thinking Diet Coke's the answer, right? Because it's not as bad as the sugar-free. In some ways, they're worse, because when you have Coke, at least you know how much you're having sugar, so you know to limit it. You could have 10 Diet Cokes on a night out, think you're being a good lad. What it does is it has sweeteners, right? So the sweeteners then attack your taste receptors and they prepare your body to receive sugar because they think you're going to, because they taste like sugar. And then the sugar doesn't come. So you've started all these processes that are your body preparing for sugar that's not there. And that can lead to things like diabetes without even having the sugar. So you've got to understand this stuff. But unfortunately, like, how food pyramid, all this stuff that's been made is based on a lie. It's based on carbohydrates, trying to sell you as many carbs as possible because they're cheap to produce.
Do you still find yourself, you know, it's all well and good, you know, for a lot of people saying this, but a lot of people may not be able to actually implement that into their life. Do you still find yourself like
stuff like that is easy to implement?
No, but people don't know how cheap bananas are.
But do you find yourself still able to indulge every now and again?
Yeah, do you not want to?
No, I do. Let myself go. Like, I've always lived like that anyway, generally. I've like 80-20 rule, you know, because I work a lot at home as well. So my whole thing is just don't stock the cupboards with shit. And then if you're out and about, have a nice, you have your pizzas and I don't drink anymore, but I used to drink. What else? Like, you know, at Christmas, I'll go to town on the chocolates. Like, I absolutely love the chocolates, but I'll eat my body weight in chocolates over 2 days. Then I won't eat chocolate again more or less for a year. Like, and I don't miss
exactly
it at all.
the same as that.
Yeah.
Literally.
Best way to be, I think.
Same.
I don't stock anything.
But you
in the
work
cupboard.
so hard though, physically. Like, I watch it, I follow your stuff. Like, you're doing so much. I'm pretty sure more than any of us are in terms of miles and minutes and effort into your workload. Like, I don't do anywhere near what you do, and I do keep fit, but I don't need to because I just don't eat shit. It's all food. I'm not saying you do. I'm just saying food. It's all food. Nutrition is everything.
But I do. I know people always say like, oh, my diet's so shit. I do actually eat very well, but I also like. I will have a donut if I fucking want a donut. Like, I think you should be able to indulge, but you need to have a balanced and both sides.
Some people have a relationship with food where they enjoy the almost dopamine or whatever you get from the nice tasting food. For me, I get enjoyment from knowing I'm healthy, and I almost treat my body like a car.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I wouldn't put, you know, something that doesn't work like petrol in the car. Well, actually, I've got an electric car, but I wouldn't hurt my car on purpose.
Yeah. Do you think it's almost symbolic of like, if you're not totally like respecting yourself or you're happy with yourself, if you are willing to put in that shit in return for like a nice buzz, like a dopamine hit. Because I definitely notice, like comfort eating, right? I will eat the bad food and not care as much when actually deep down I'm probably just like not actually happy with who I'm being at that time. Whereas when I'm more proud of myself, I actually I take more care.
So,
Do you think that's something that like ayahuasca can have something to do with, i.e. like you can see more clearer like the food, like what you're putting inside of you, it's not that nice chocolate that's yummy, it's actually shit that's calming you?
It's hard to say. Like, the thing with the ayahuasca thing is it's such a big moment in my life that, again, I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist here, but like it's the same thing people say now about COVID vaccines, as opposed to, like, if they have a health issue and they had the vaccine, they don't know if the vaccine caused it because you did this really significant thing. So that ayahuasca's the reverse of that. It's in a good way, but it's like I had this life-changing thing. Definitely was it's probably the best single decision I made for myself. I'm not including like having kids and things, like just the Spencer thing in my whole life. And at the time, I probably thought it was this super miracle thing and, everything's thanks to that. Now I just think I needed a reset. That was what got it for me. And I actually take pride in my own decisions since then. That I'm just a better human and I'm making better decisions. Like the food thing, I don't know if it's genetic or I'm just lucky. For me, the guilt I feel after eating a bit of cake is way worse than not having it. Like not having it, seeing everyone else eat cake will not bother me, but eating the cake and then just on my own thing, I shouldn't have eaten that cake. Way worse.
Mate,
Do you think that momentum comes though? Because whenever I've been like, I've definitely got to that mentality before when like being consistent on the gym, and it's like over time, like because initially right now I'm like I'd much prefer the cake. You're probably the same.
Yeah,
Right now want the cake, but if I did a few times of not having the cake and getting that almost the feeling of like, oh shit, I actually feel better.
I think periods
then
of
I'd get the
abstinence.
proof.
I a cake earlier today, but I have no guilt towards it at all.
Yeah, but you're a different
but
breed. I don't actually think you're a human being.
You wouldn't have to work as hard as you do if you did eat different.
I'd feel guilty if I had maybe 4 slices of cake. The one slice, do you know what I mean? There's a different scale. But do you not think that comes with some people do have more addictive personalities? So if they may indulge in something like this, they could lead down a slippery slope. Whereas me personally, I have the opposite of an addictive personality.
I
don't
also
get
think
addicted
it
to anything.
can
I
go
never have the
too far.
temptation.
But then you can't give it up though.
Yeah.
Can you give it up though?
Give up what?
The cake.
Probably
And
never.
never have it.
So is that not an addiction of
No, I could. No, I could. I've eaten clean. I've
Cornered
done
you there.
clean and not eating cakes. It's very easy.
I do think you're
You
right.
just don't buy it. You don't eat it.
I think it's more about less addiction per se. In this case, it's about actually not having something than having something. I think it's more about fixation. Like I am a bit extra. Like I have a Google spreadsheet for habit tracker that I keep every day this year, and it has all these different things that I'm measuring myself on. One might be abstaining from masturbation. One might be, or actually, it's not masturbation. It's porn. Keeping away from porn. One might be doing a certain amount of exercise certain times a month. One might be, what time did I go to bed? What time did I wake? All healthy things, all good things. But I literally keep it in a Google document. Like most people don't need to live their life like that.
That's overthinking.
Yeah, it is everything. But then also I look at people like yourself who do all the extra sport. Yeah, the sports measurement, and that just doesn't appeal to me because then I know if I get into that stuff, I'm then going to be fixating. Oh, did I get the green for my sleep last night? Or did I just want to live my life?
Again, with that though, a lot of people like if you take Reed for example, he stopped wearing his Whoop because if he woke up and got told, "Oh, you're in the red today," that would completely change how we would then
put you in a bad mood. Sleep
Whereas for me,
anxiety.
I just use things as a tool. Like I have to wear this with my exercise because I need to. I'm following a training plan to get myself. I have to set certain fitness targets to be able to run a 3:30 marathon or an Ironman. So I need to use these tools.
So the difference between you and me is, right, and neither's right or wrong. I don't care about tracking sport because I do sport for my brain.
Yeah.
So I know what makes me healthy. I don't need to know if I've got my fire. I'd like to do a sub 25k or whatever, but I don't need to track it. I'm just going to be quite relaxed with that because I'm so extra on other stuff. My extra stuff is about my brain. It's about me trying to stay healthy and happy and just optimal for my life. Things like sport, I just know roughly I need to go for a run or I need to get out my own brain. I'm going to go play football. But I don't want to go extra on that because it might take the enjoyment away from it.
Yeah, I get that.
But yeah,
But I also use running. It's not just like I love doing it and I'm training for whatever. I definitely notice the difference between how I'm feeling before and after a run.
Well, this is one of the biggest things that should be taught in school. And I wouldn't be surprised if in my future one day I end up... He's very sweet.
Yeah, he's a sweet boy.
He's very sweet. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised one day in my future if I end up working in some sort of alternative school or like putting together some sort of curriculum because I'm very passionate about it. Most of this really important stuff we need to be taught isn't taught in school.
100%.
This is interesting, right? Because I have a friend that had like a a debate with someone a while ago about someone who had taken their kids out of school to homeschool them. Because I agree with you to that extent that I think the modern curriculum doesn't teach children truly what they need to know. But how does it affect their social skills?
The homeschool thing.
If you had kids that were homeschooled and they were, just in the home.
Yeah, we did a whole episode on it on the Internet Dads pod. It's a bit of a myth that. So like obviously if you stick your kids in your garage and they only see you and that is going to massively affect their social skills. But actually it's the opposite, like depending on what you do. But if I homeschool my kids, their average day, first of all, you get everything done in a couple of hours, right? You don't need 8 hours. You have 8 hours at school because that's when your mum and dad are at work. It's nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
There's also 30 of you in a class. You can't get that one-to-one tuition, which is going to be much quicker. When you're doing it properly tailored to the child, 2 hours a day is more than enough for a curriculum-based learning. Let's say they've got a natural predilection to football or jiu-jitsu or anything. Well, guess what? They can do it way more than the average kid. They can go and do it and they can get the best training. And that's got a social element. You have homeschool clubs, have them all around the town I live in, and people go and join in. It's all free and you learn together. It could be in the library. Lots of socialising there. Not only that, you can be exposed to other age groups. There is no study that says it's good for 8-year-olds to hang out with 8-year-olds. It's just convenient.
Yeah, no, it's true.
Actually, in other societies and tribes and all these sorts of things, they're with the adults. They're learning from the adults from day one, and that makes them develop faster. I mean, if you're good at football, what happens? They don't keep you with the 8-year-olds. They put you with the 10-year-olds.
Yeah.
So you can do the same thing. I've got a baseball top on now. I did this baseball thing a few years ago. I was I had this coach, and he'd won the World Series. He was a proper coach, and he was coaching us. And his kids were homeschooled. He was in his 60s now. His kids were my age. First people I'd ever met that had properly done the homeschool thing. And I asked him about it. He was like, it's obvious. We did a couple, the mum did the teaching, did a couple hours of school. Then they'd go into the baseball club from a young age. They were learning about baseball. They were learning about business. They were learning about things you're never going to get taught at school, let alone at that age. They were loads of social clubs they were part of. These people were religious. They were Christians. A lot of Christians do homeschool groups and things together. I met their kids. And they were good lads. One of them was working in a Major League Baseball team. One of them was a really high-flying businessman. Like, my understanding before that was that homeschool kids were going to be these little, nerdy, unsocial kids. It goes the other way as well, right? There's nothing to say that the social exposure you get at school is positive. A lot of people's worst experiences happen to them at school. If you're popular, if you play football or whatever, you're one of them in that good crowd, it's a great experience often in school. But I experienced both. I had that in the latter end of my school. The first few years of school, I was not that kid and I didn't have a good time. And my life was made immeasurably worse from having to go to school. And I was a bright kid and I did really well academically, but I was not happy with it. And I'm not saying every kid should be homeschooled. I'm not saying every kid should go to school. I think some kids are perfect for school. Some kids need to be homeschooled because they have extra needs or whatever. And it depends what you're trying to achieve. It's very inconvenient for the
I
parent.
was going to say, for a lot of people, it's not even a choice.
No.
Because, a lot of
luxury,
people can't even afford it. It's a complete luxury.
As well, what if one of your parents is really dyslexic?
But the parent doesn't. That's another myth. The parent doesn't have to be the teacher. So you might.
Okay.
So I went
Or a
to
tutor.
went to
Okay.
Costa Rica. I went
Money.
back. I went back to Costa Rica for 6 weeks with Alex and our little boy at the time. And a lot of the people out there, for example, they'll create their own school. They create their own school. They'll put, and it's not as going to be as cheap as going to a state school, which is free, but it's going to be a lot cheaper than private school. You hire a teacher, you set the curriculum. You might do some equivalent testing, so they still get their relevant qualifications. All the data suggests that these kids are brighter. All the data, if you look into it, they can go to uni much younger because they're ahead of the pack. They are passing their GCSEs, A-levels, whatever the equivalent tests are, way higher percentage marks than the average kid, and even a lot younger than the average kid. There's no data to suggest that a well homeschooled kid is worse off.
But again,
But it's very inconvenient.
it's a complete luxury.
Yeah.
So many people just they will never get that choice.
And I
They
think
have no-
that's fine for someone to say, I can't do it. My job doesn't allow for it. That's, of course, I completely understand that. I'm very lucky to consider it. But it's when people, for all the right reasons, have a misunderstanding of what homeschool could be that I sort of speak up because I don't even know if we're going to do it. But I do think it's the best way, if you can, to ensure your child will get what they need.
Is it important, do you think, regarding a partner, to have complete alignment in all of that stuff before even looking at being long-term partners and having children or whatever? Do you have to have all of these conversations before do you think even like taking things into like a serious relationship? Because imagine like you're together with someone like 8 years, and then you actually have the chat about like how you'd want to raise kids, how you'd actually want to live, and all that, and then actually completely
did
not
that.
aligned.
I know a couple
Is that
that
something that
have
you
to.
had to
They break
do?
up.
Me and Al broke up after 8 years. That's exactly how long we've been together. We had always had the chat about kids, and it was something that we both wanted, and then that's why it was a problem when I didn't want them in that period of my life. We'd always been opposed on marriage. I'd always been opposed on
But
that.
you didn't want it.
I never wanted to, I'm quite an untraditional person. It's not that I'm against it. It's that I hadn't seen a good argument for it. I
Right.
just looked at the data and was like that vast majority, or certainly increasing amount of people are getting divorced. There's a serious financial burden when you get divorced. You can lose a third of your family's household to lawyers. Like you're not on good terms with someone. Like, tell me why getting married is better than not.
That's seeing something through your analytical
Yeah.
side of everything.
Again, not saying I'm right
Yeah.
and she's wrong. We just had an opposition and we got over that. But we hadn't had that chat on kids. What me and Al are really aligned, and we're really lucky. That is a huge part of it. I couldn't contemplate this homeschool stuff if she wasn't on board with it or whatever. But we just have grown together. We just grown together, and we just happen to be that way inclined. She's interested in a lot of the same things I am. Very different personality to me, but open-minded. You know, just my kind of gal.
So, are you getting married?
We're still engaged. That was the compromise.
Wait, so obviously you guys split up. Was there like an element when you're obviously exploring other people that you were like, hang on, okay, this person may have like lovely set job, please, or this person, or this person might like have other like qualities that you're like, yes, but ultimately there's far more that contributes to who can be your life partner. And is that something that came obvious when you were separated?
100%. I mean, the honest answer is like me and Al never fell out or had a like we don't want to be together moment. It had to happen. That we had to break up for both of us because she wanted kids and I didn't, and I was not doing anything positive in that relationship. Like, there's no way it was good for us to stay. But we never fell out. We stayed friends. She's carried on working in the business for the whole year. We had a few like rendezvous, as you often do when people have been separated but still connected.
Ooh la la.
But I would also say, je ne sais quoi. I would also say that it was not a fair fight. So if you go and I had this, and Alex had this too, you sitting opposite someone at a date, new person, they could theoretically be the perfect person, right? They look exactly how you want them to look, act how you want them to act, 10 out of 10 in all departments. They're never going to have the back catalogue of shared references to someone you've been with for 8 years.
Well, there's
That's
often an argument that people say, like, just because you've been with someone for a long time, like, isn't a good enough reason to stay with them.
No,
like.
I'm not saying they should. I'm saying there's a reason they say stuff like, you know, it takes a month for every year you've been together, for example, to get over someone. So if you've been together for 8 years, might take you 8 months to get over them. Me and Al never fully separated, so we never gave ourselves that chance, as in we still saw each other all the time at work.
Yeah.
Then she went to Australia for 3 months, and that's when we really actually broke up. And when she came back, we got back together. All the dates and things I went on, and I think I can speak for Al the same, is like, you know, you might have had fun, you might have found someone you think's cool, but I remember just sitting opposite people thinking, I'm never going to have the same banter. Because I wasn't, we basically hadn't had closure. I think if you have closure, you can do that. For
What
sure.
counts as closure?
I think you need time. You just need an amount of time separate from that person. I think if you've been in a long relationship, you need to be single for a long time. Doesn't mean you can't see people, but you need to not get into another one. And if you're like me, you need to do some work as well. You need to work on yourself and evolve a little bit as a human. I was very lucky that Al hadn't met someone else and had that. You know, I would have got on with it if we hadn't got back together. I'm not someone that dwells on stuff, but it was just very fortunate that we hadn't gone separate ways fully. And if you think about that as well, you talked about earlier, like some people get a bit obsessed with this perfect life or this version of life. You don't grow up thinking it's a good thing to break up with a guy after 8 years and get back together. You almost feel a bit of shame, to be honest. You feel a bit of shame, and it's like not the Disneyland order of events that you're told has to exist, particularly for the girl who might have grown up thinking, I'm going to get married at this event and then we're going to do this and it's going to be great. Let me tell you, I don't know anyone like that. Do you know anyone like that?
No.
You might know someone who's with their high school sweetheart, but they might also have issues behind the scenes.
But we still had a year off, and I that point resonated with me where I had a girlfriend for a brief period in between who absolutely nothing wrong with her at all. But for me, it was always, but she isn't Ruth.
Yeah.
And it was...
He's ruthless.
Exactly.
I was.
He was ruthless.
Yeah,
Yeah.
ruthless.
But like everyone's story is different. Like there'll be people that will say like, oh, if you're able to get with someone else, well then surely that means that you can't have actually loved this person, but like obviously you had another girlfriend, you met other people. Like, is that something that is an issue that like, oh wait, we've actually been with other people in an intimate way since being together before? Is that an elephant in the room, like, ever or nah?
No, I mean naturally, like I think you always like make jokes about it.
You make jokes about it,
As in about
yeah,
how like
just
you
getting
hate that person.
slopped. Oh, wait, what?
Some people are very jealous.
Oh no, not like that.
I'm not a jealous person, I wouldn't say, and I think if you are, you might struggle with that idea. But I just think that's part of growing up and realizing the world is not all sunshine and rainbows, and you make do with the best version of events. And like, it's not only was that year apart very valuable for us both. We both acknowledge that all the time. Best thing that could have happened to us, considering we got back together at the end. But part of that is seeing other people. Like, how many people have that gift of context? Think about this. If me and Al are 50 years old and we have a difficult moment, you know, you do have we've had difficult moments in the last few years since we had kids. It's impossible to avoid them. We have context. We know what happens if we break up. We were together for 8 years, and I can tell you exactly what the first few months will be like. You know, generally, if I react the same way, I can tell you what will be good, what will be bad, and I can tell you I'll get bored and miss Alex eventually. Yeah. And she will basically say the same thing. So what an amazing gift of clarity that we don't need to break up to experience that.
Yeah.
So I think it's the best thing that we could have done. Would I have designed my perfect life to look like that at 20? No. But I wouldn't change anything now. It's
the obstacles you grow from, you know? Things just going smoothly, you're not learning. So like, yeah, I'd say anyone that's... like, I just think what's really important is like you're saying about the Disney Channel sort of thing, and what you see on TikTok is like the perfect way to do things, just isn't it? And I'm assuming you're, as parents now, it's made you even better as parents, right? Now that kids are in your life.
I think it's made us better at everything. I think I think we've got context, we've got empathy, we can understand when other people are going through stuff because we've been through it. The more it's like in the crudest form, it's the more data you have at your disposal, the more informed you are. So we have loads of data because we've done loads of different things and we've experienced loads of different versions of life. So we're better off. But it's an ego thing again. If you have an ego about the way you're perceived by other people, you know, or and that's where a lot of jealousy comes from, really. It's like almost wanting to own someone because you want to be seen to own them, or you need to feel to own them because you've got your own ego issues. If you don't have them and you've made peace with them, and like I say, for me, it was ayahuasca and other things I've done since then to help understand the world. For someone like Alex, she never needed it. She had it already. And that's great. I needed it. I wasn't that person. And we all have our strengths and weaknesses. There's loads of things I'm good at that Alex is less good at. There's loads of things she's better at than me. And that's what makes a good partner, a partnership. You bring out the best in each other. But I do want to stress in this, I'm really happy we talked about it. And I've wanted to talk about this stuff for years. And I'm going to talk about it more going forward because I want to be more authentic with my experiences and use the platforms that I have to try and do good. But I'm definitely not saying that I think everyone should go and do this. I'm definitely not saying everyone has to protest for it to be legalized or any of this sort of thing like ayahuasca. I just would say to the average person watching this, open your mind a little bit. Not that you have to do it, but understand that someone like me maybe needed to do it. Understand that I actually had to go and do something which in this country is illegal to solve, and I did it in a country where it was legal. I have to stress that, in Costa Rica. But I had to do that to basically save my own life, right? So what world is that a bad thing? If you have an instant reaction to this, which is no judgment for you if you do, I understand because I had the same reaction. That this is bad, or I'm an idiot, or I'm crazy for thinking this. Like, you're wrong. You are wrong. You're not wrong to not want to do it, but you're wrong to think it was a bad thing because it changed my life for the better. And everyone in my life benefited from that decision. And lots of other people. And that's the other thing, right? This was 6.5 years ago. I still talk about it like it was yesterday with so much passion, and I haven't done it since. There's so much evidence in front of people that this is a good thing. And people need it. Some people need it. And I do think personally, it will become legalized at some point in this country, and it will become part of everyday culture. And they'll probably turn it into a pill, and it'll probably be something they can sell. And that's the main reason it isn't. It's because they can't monetize it. Just like shrooms, you can't, you can grow them in your garden, technically. So how can they patent that? They can't. So they can't make loads of money from it. They can from other things, and that's what you see more obvious in society. These things that are monetizable.
Yeah, and they're not afraid of like harming people with monetizable prescription drugs. Just look like what's happening in America. I've seen some documentaries like there was Oxycontin.
Yeah, all that stuff.
The fact that they were willing to do that and like celebrate. They have parties celebrating.
No one did jail time. either, you know.
OxyContin,
None of them did
Yeah.
jail time.
like just pure addiction. What was it like? It's an opioid.
Oh, it's
Yeah, they were
opioid.
proven
It
to
just-
have lied to many people in
Yeah.
the sales pitches and their adverts for
and
it,
getting
what it does
doctors
for
to
you.
prescribe it wrongly, but paying them to because they get more money, and it just being this one big. Like they have no problem with harming the general population.
Even the diabetes.
So it's not like they're not stopping people from doing ayahuasca or shrooms because they care about how you are. It's more of just like, can they monetize it?
Yeah, yeah.
Is it going to affect them? Are you going to be more aware to things? If so, let's maybe not. Let's give them more alcohol that dumbs them down.
But that,
Do you know what I
that
mean?
is- Like you were talking about diabetes and stuff. That's obviously like a big reason why ultra processed foods and stuff like still exist, because a lot of the research that is done is obviously just backed by like Mars or Pepsi
Yeah, of course.
Cola,
Yeah, it's all
whoever.
paid for. Yeah. I mean, I spent 10 years plus, and I'm not, saying these things are terrible. It's a difficult thing to tread. But like, for example, I'd eat loads of things like protein bars because ostensibly they're good for you because it's protein and you need protein and it's, you're trying to be healthy. So you're actually eating them because you're health conscious. Listen, go and eat some chicken.
Real
It's not even cheaper, by the way, protein bars. It's so overpriced. There's some great things you can see online of people getting like the proteins from natural foods. It's getting a kilogram of protein from 10 different ingredients, getting a kilogram of protein bars, and it's like 8 times the price to get the protein bars, and it's full of other stuff.
convenience, isn't it, though?
It's
That
convenient.
is it. It's
If that suits
convenient.
you, it is convenient, no doubt about it. But it's that's one of the things I stopped when I went to non-processed foods. Stopped eating protein bars, stopped drinking protein shakes, stopped cereals, anything like that, and the weight just dropped off me.
I still take shakes, but I've found a like organic, non-ultra processed
Yeah.
way. It's called like Pink Sun or something.
I was researching it recently because I have been thinking it'd be much more convenient for my life if I can find a non-processed.
It's
way.
like
And you do get they're all whey is processed in its essence.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't necessarily be ultra processed, but
it's literally got like 5 ingredients in. Hasn't got any gums or anything. It's
because whey protein is just coming from milk, right? And it's like technically you're like, it's milk. What can be wrong with that? But the process of separating it, increasing that protein amount, is a process of its sorts. But I do think that word should be used sparingly because like there's a big difference between some of the stuff that is just junk and there is something that is probably not that. But also,
And it's mad. What's mad is that like, we say, our kids should be able to like enjoy the sweeties and all that. But isn't it mental? Like seeing what my sister's kids have had as their treats, like their whole like first 5 years of life, bruv. That's just getting them purely hooked on sugar and shit from early on. I'm like, why would you do that?
No, I know.
Like, why would you? That's not a treat. You're actually harming like them and fucking up their whole like brain chemistry from early. So now that's going to be so hard for them to get out of.
Do you know what one of the big issues in life is? And you won't, if you haven't thought about this, you won't realize a big aha moment for me. You know, the whole argument is, I ate it when I was a kid. No, you didn't. Those foods are made with completely different ingredients.
Yeah.
Even some of the stuff with the same name.
Yeah.
A certain chocolate bar or cake. It's not the same food you had. We make cakes all the time at home. We make them at home with 3 or 4 ingredients. And yeah, there's sugar in them.
Yeah.
But you know exactly how much sugar you can have. You measure it and kids love it and kids can get away with that because they run around so much. So my kid eats way worse than I do, but I am bringing him up to understand the difference between like what I call energy food or food for muscles or little simplistic words, what you need, what you don't need. He knows things are treats. He doesn't even want them sometimes because he knows he shouldn't have too much of them. But I let him enjoy being a kid. We make pancakes, we make cakes, but it's pure ingredients.
yeah.
The stuff they're selling to you mostly in these places. What that book tells you, one thing's really good, little rule for farmers. It says, think about the intention of the person that made the food or the people, the company that made the food. If it's the profit, they've probably cut corners or used things that are cheaper that aren't good for your health. If it is a company that is an artisan bakery or whatever, and they're known for making the best food, and yeah, it's going to have some fats and some pastries and whatnot, but it's fine to have every now and then. Their intention behind the food is completely different. We want to make great food with great ingredients because that's what we do. You get these nice butchers, very expensive. These nice butchers if you're looking for meat, but they're getting the best cuts of meat and it's organic, and it's grass-fed because they want you to have a good experience. And you go to most supermarkets now, they've either got rid of their deli counters or the meat you can buy in packaged meat. Go and turn it over and see how much other stuff is in the meat. It's not just meat. You think it must be meat. It's just meat in the packet. No, it's processed. They've put loads of stuff in there. So you've got to be really, if you can be lucky enough to afford it, you've got to be very intentional with what you eat. But those basic rules for fun make it easy. Just follow those rules.
So the people that just like can't be arsed, like, what do you say to them?
Well, that's just
that's
someone
also
living their
okay,
life.
though.
But
Their life.
that's
Okay.
someone living their life the way they want to.
There's no
Reckon.
judgment. I think if they can't be asked about looking after their own body, and you get one body, right? And yeah, maybe we're all going to get transplants if we're lucky enough and we're older and we'll become bionic. But generally, you get one body, and why would you not want to treat it with respect? Like, it's probably emblematic of something else they're going through, or a lack of education on the matter. They don't realise that it's important.
See, I'm a bit of a hypocrite on this whole situation because, like, in terms of the food and everything,
Going to go smash 10 pints.
yeah, but I would never cut out alcohol. I fucking love it.
But I also think it's one of them ones where you can be all health conscious, but if you enjoy something,
Yeah.
you should also just do it.
I agree.
Because you have to have balance in life. You
With
can't
moderation,
just be,
yeah.
everything in moderation. You can't just be 100% so neat and clean if that's not who you are. Like you and I and other people, like, I like having a pint.
Yeah.
I like having a donut. I'm not going to stop it, but I maybe will cut it down and have balance with other things.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
That's absolutely
Putting
fine,
out alcohol for me is so easy because I never liked it.
Yeah.
Never liked it. The only alcohols I've ever liked the taste of are really sweet, like ciders. I like a cider.
Yeah.
Anything sweet. I've never liked beer. I've drunk lots of beer over my life, mainly out of peer pressure at university and stuff. So many beers. But never liked it. And I got to a certain age where I was like, actually, I don't like the way it makes you feel. Give it a few years because your hangovers will get worse.
Yeah.
They already
probably.
have.
And you'll start to think, what's the fucking point of doing this?
I tell you what, though, I don't drink nowhere near as much as, say, you or a lot of other people. But I definitely on nights out will, like, be conscious of how much I'm drinking sometimes and, like, reduce. I've definitely reduced my intake a lot. But also at the same time, sometimes I go, fuck it, and just get out.
See,
This country's relationship with alcohol is so weird. Like, other countries.
But sometimes it can be fun.
You know what?
get all these.
Yeah, they can be amazing. I had some great nights out and things, but one of the things for me is Euros final at Wembley. You know, all that shit was going down. People were breaking in. Like, before the final, there was like Wembley Way was just full. There's loads of people that didn't have tickets and whatnot. They were just fighting each other. I was like, what the fuck's going on here? There's people throwing pint glasses around. The game's not happened yet. We're in our city. We're not even like Brits abroad. We're English people getting fucked off their head drunk and smashing things up before the game. What is this culture? What have we done? We celebrate it. We think it's like, I'm so drunk, I've climbed a lamppost, I'm going to fucking throw this. You're like, no, mate, people have got their kids here, pal. Like, you're going to scare them off going to football forever. You're going to potentially hurt someone. Like, I'm not some little crude, like, don't want to have a laugh guy. Some little prude, sorry. But that's just embarrassing.
Dickheadery is not like...
But I think that's why I like bang on about the like self-discovery. If these people had like been willing to discover themselves why they're acting the way they are, maybe done something like ayahuasca.
Them doesn't let them.
But like, no, as in like that. If everyone was able to willing to discover themselves more, I feel like there'd be less.
There are
less
movements.
dickheads.
Those people might still be on their journey. Like, I'm sure everyone sitting around this table has done something stupid when they're intoxicated.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I've not done that though. I've never thought I'm going to climb a lamppost and damage some people, hurt some people. Like,
I get that. That's too far.
I think alcohol, in like money, it just brings out the real you sometimes, not necessarily the nicest parts of you, but it does. If some people get drunk and they want to hug everyone, kiss everyone, and they get really horny. Some people.
What do you say that about? What would that mean about someone?
Well, it means they're probably, if it's a horniness, they've probably got a high sex drive.
No, but if they want to kiss their mates and
I
stuff,
think that means they're an affectionate person. They're a caring person.
Oh, I love that shit.
Some people drink and they get angry and they get violent and they've probably got some suppressed anger. And I know people like this. They've got some suppressed anger in them. Some people,
to sing.
get irresponsible. Yeah, like to sing, whatever. Money's the same, really. If someone's a prick with money, they're a prick without money, really.
Yeah.
They just let you know about it with money. But I think there's nothing wrong with having a drink. Lots of cultures do it. But you need to be able to do it in moderation. Our culture celebrates it. One thing I would like to say is like very easy to be in this English echo chamber. So we're actually quite a sheltered nation, I would suggest. Like if you look at things like this, a lot of countries are ahead of us. Did you know it's all drugs are legal in Portugal and Spain?
they're all legal.
Legal.
You can buy cocaine in
bag.
Portugal.
All drugs are legal in Portugal and Spain. You only get arrested for producing more than your week's worth of supply.
Yeah.
So if you're a dealer, basically, if you're a dealer, you can get arrested. But in Portugal and Spain, you can do any drug. And this has also been done in states of America. They did it in Portland. It didn't work very well there because the problem with America is you've got multiple states. So all the druggies just go to that state to get the drugs that are legal. But they're obviously way ahead of us in terms of legalizing weed. They are ahead of us in the psilocybin trials and things like this. Like we are quite backwards, quite sheltered in my opinion. And I'm just saying to people, like, maybe just broaden your horizons a little bit. You've done a lot of traveling. You've seen the world. There's more than one way to do it. And our way is not always the right way. Definitely. And there's also other ways to bring kids up and stuff. Like, there's, about the country Bhutan? Do you know that Bhutan measure their GDP and happiness? Do you know that?
What's
GDP is your gross domestic product, right? So basically it's a number.
The wealth of a country.
It's the average sort of wealth of a person, or like the valuation per capita or whatever of how much money the country produces. And if it's a cash-rich country, like they've got loads of natural resources, it will have a high GDP, whatever. Bhutan, which is like in that sort of Tibet area of Asia, they measure their gross national product or domestic product in happiness. Essentially, they don't just want to be happy, they measure their happiness. And if their happiness factor is lower this year than last year, then it was a bad year. It's not about, the stocks just take Trump tariffs have just meant that the S&P's gone down 10%. I'm sure they care about that, but it's a Buddhist nation. They care about people being happy as a priority.
Yeah.
Do you not think that?
I wonder why ours doesn't.
But I don't think you could do that in England.
It's capitalism.
Do you know what I mean? Like, imagine, like, what's his prime minister at the moment? Steimer. Keir Starmer.
Yeah.
Imagine he comes out and is like, lads, we're going to start
I wish I had your
doing
brain.
our happiness as a scale every year.
I mean, I don't think it'd have as much resistance as you think, as long as it
I
didn't.
feel like you'd get rinsed.
I think it wouldn't.
Do you not think?
If you sacked off everything else, this is a capitalist country ultimately, and that's comes with its side effects, and I think it would need to be part of a process. But you are seeing the world, I think, start to prioritise other things.
Maybe, yeah.
Australia, I think, of outlawing smartphones for under 16s or social media for under 16s. That's
That
a
is
really
a
important
great
development.
Yeah.
Wow.
You're seeing this big movement at the moment with people like Gary Stevenson, Gary's Economics, and this movement towards wealth taxes and not allowing so much of a small percentage of the world to have so much wealth and control, because that is a large part of what's keeping us in this situation, in my opinion. If schools were engineered truly to make the best people, it would be a completely different curriculum. They're developed to make workers.
Do you not think there should be, I had this conversation with someone about the curriculum the other day, and there should be like a new subject called life skills?
Well, it should
Well,
be
you
the
learn
only subject.
Where you learn about, like, how do you do your tax? How do you pay your bills?
You'd be the head of year.
But what if the first thing you learn isn't actually about tax? I think the tax and business and all that stuff could be better taught for sure. What if the first thing you learn is, this is how I work in my school, right? First thing you learn, right, guys, rule number 1, we need the earth to exist. If the earth goes bang, we die.
Yeah.
No one told me this at school at any point. I went to good schools, right? So let's not fuck the earth, first of all. Should we agree on that? Anyone got an issue with that? I think the earth should die, guys. You're a fucking idiot, aren't you? Like, we're going to teach you the right way.
Yeah.
Seriously. So let's make some rules that means we can never... This is what I think AI could lead to. I was very anti-AI at first, thinking iRobot, they're going to take us over and put us into cages like Planet of the Apes. They might do that. But if they do that, is that necessarily a bad thing? If your goal is the earth to be the best thing it is, are humans good for the earth? Are we having a net positive reaction on earth? I'm not sure we have.
No.
So anyway,
Probably did at some point. I feel like we've probably
since the Industrial Revolution, I think we've probably hurt that. But I think if kids going to school, first thing, don't fuck the earth. We need it. It's not even a ecological argument. It's a selfish argument. We need it. We need oxygen. We need word to be producing it. So let's not fuck that. Second thing, right, well, you should probably enjoy your life. What do you think, guys? Should we enjoy our life? Anyone want to not enjoy their life?
Yeah.
Okay, so how do we explore that? What makes you enjoy life? None of these conversations happen at
Exercise.
And then if we decide about the taxes, well, that would be from a deliberate education and go, right, we have a system in this country called capitalism. That means you make a certain amount of money, you get taxed on it, and we generally like to achieve money because it brings us these things. Here's how tax works. But also, before we get into that, should we explore other systems as well? Should we talk about the pros and cons of a more not communist necessarily, but more community-driven system with maybe a capped form of capitalism or socialism or any of the other things that have or haven't worked in the world? Understanding you're not necessarily going to change it because the country has a system in place, but understand why it exists. Why people have chosen this form over others. How long has it actually been around? Not that long, by the way, in grand scheme of things. Is there scope for it to ever be different in the future? And why would that be a good thing? That's the basics. Yeah. Then you learn about fucking longshore drift,
Yeah.
which no one needs.
But it's just nuts though, like how it is more and more obvious that like the way our government seems to set things up in that sense is just for the benefit of them basically manipulating us.
Yeah, my view on it is it's less
you are designed to be a worker that follows rules,
yeah,
not to, and it's like, okay, if we do become more and more aware of that, like what can we actually do to like Can we do anything to overrun
you
that?
Yeah, but
There's gotta be a critical
everyone's
thinker.
a pussy. Like, if you think about it.
All right.
No, but
Luke
it's
Martin,
true, like,
2025.
Why? You're completely right.
because everyone's
Why?
conditioned to be that way. Think of the simple example is like, think of council tax. You still pay it every single month, despite the fact that it's just pumped into shit that you don't believe in. Yeah, no one's brave enough to just be like, I'm not paying.
Some people are.
It's because the ultimate like thing that everyone's scared of is harm.
Yeah, but
Like,
they
like,
go-
that's if you go down the thing,
You would go to
eventually somewhere
prison.
down the line you're going to get hurt if you don't pay your taxes.
Did you know how
but
many
you'd
people,
end up going to prison.
Yeah, getting hurt.
how many people go around their life with this fear? And listen, some people have got things they should be scared of. And but most of my friends, and I'm probably fortunate to be in these circles, whatever, most of my friends, and almost all of them, by the way, maybe it's the people I hang out with, I don't know, but most people are going through something at some point in their life. And there's not many just intrinsically happy people, right? Most people have some struggles. And a lot of them could be about their job, could be about their relationships, kids, whatever it is. Do you know how many people just don't have the ability to see the wood for the trees? First of all, to understand how lucky they are to even be in this country. I'm not even a massive Anglophile. I don't think this country's that good sometimes, but it's a lot better than some of them experiencing. That's pure vagina lottery that we got born in this country versus somewhere else, right? Second is if you have got a parent figure, 2 parents, friends, family, a place where if everything goes tits up and you have nothing, you've got a sofa to sleep on. You're already ahead of a decent amount of the world, literally. That should be everyone listening to this is superpower. That's what my superpower was. When I quit my job, I didn't have a pot to piss in. I had enough money to pay 1 month's rent. I had no handouts, I had nothing. Alex also quit her job. We had no money from YouTube. And we said, we reckon we've got a couple months before we run out of money, have to go and move home with our parents at 25, 26. Most people already would not have taken that gamble because they're so scared or embarrassed to go and do that. You know what? We're so lucky that we've got parents that will put us up if it all goes tits up. I don't mind that. I'll go home. I'll keep trying on YouTube for a few more months. I ain't going to give in for a year or 2. I'll make it work eventually. It took 2 months. Never moved home. Never needed to because we just made it work. But just having the ability of that context, most people do. I'm pretty sure everyone in this room does. Like, I'm not talking about your mum, your dad, could be anyone, could be a mate. If you have someone that will look out for you, just for enough time for you to make that decision, quit that job, try that thing. If you're unhappy and you're not using that to do the thing you want to do, then shame on you. You've had a job done on you. You've had a job done in your brain and it's not working properly. And I've got so many friends like that. They're always fixed out on the worst case scenario. What's the worst thing that could happen if I quit this job? Will anyone ever employ me again? Of course they will. Most people I hang out with have got half decent CVs because they're good people. They're not dickheads and they work hard and try hard. You'll get a job probably, and you could be an entrepreneur. You can try this, you can try that. How much money are you actually going to lose? You can think about the worst case to plan for it, but it's probably never going to happen. Probably what's going to happen is somewhere in the middle, maybe even a little bit better than the middle. But no one does the thing. And they never get to experience the best case. They're so worried about this thing that will never happen.
But what would you say to the person that doesn't have a fallback? So say someone's lost all their family members through whatever, some trauma, and they want to have this go at doing something, but they can't because they'll lose their house and they'll be on the streets.
If you're in that scenario, my heart goes out to you, and I'm not sitting here blind to the fact there are people like that. And if you listen to our Internet Dads pod, you'll know that one of the things I want to do in life is adopt children. So I think we might have finished having our biological kids now, but when we're older and we're in a different environment, I want to adopt kids because for me, what you just described is the saddest thing. And I can't change the world, unfortunately, on my own, but I can solve 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 people's problems. I have enough resource to have a larger family and to make those people's lives exponentially better. It's one of the reasons I didn't want kids originally. It's got this whole thing about why should I extend my gene pool? Why am I so special when there's all these kids in the world without parents, they need help in other countries, in this country, wherever. And I have an ability to do that. We all do, and most of us don't. So me and Al actually had an agreement at first, which was 1 in, 1 out. Very natural kid we did. We couldn't have another one until we adopted one, and we sort of went with a different order now. But she's on board with this, so doesn't solve the problem. Of course, there's loads of people like that, and if you're on your own, then you need a different kind of motivation. You need to become a dog. You need to become a dog and work your way out of it. And I can't say I can relate to that. But what's the alternative? If you're on your own, that would be my pep talk to you. If you can, just take whatever it is, use that Kaizen approach, try and be 1% better every day because it compounds over a year or 2 or 3. If you can just make those slight improvements, your life will get better. It's all relative, right? You want to be better from where you started. Some people started with more than us. Some people started with a lot less than us. The only losers in life are the ones that stop trying to get better. That's all I could say.
Fucking mad thing.
I wish I could speak like you.
Really
Ah,
good.
you're decent.
I'm not very good at
No,
talking.
Theo, you do one now.
Why not? I can't. I struggle.
Give
to
us some wise words.
I have a lot of things going on up here that I don't necessarily know how to articulate.
3, 2, 1.
That was it.
Oh,
That was it. Yeah.
I thought it was the prelude.
Oh, so if someone else felt like you, what would you say to
How
them?
do I feel like? What do you mean?
Well, they've got a lot of stuff up there that they can't articulate, but they really want to get it out. How would...
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't get it.
Well, so obviously,
Right,
if you've got a lot of stuff going on up here, right, that you want to get out, but you can't, and someone else has this issue, what would you say to them to encourage them to be able to get it out?
I don't know. I don't fucking know. I don't know. What do you? I've no clue.
Okay, your baby, your little 4-year-old Theo.
Yeah.
Daddy.
Little Malfoy Jr.
Daddy.
Oh, you're right.
What?
You'll be fine. You'll get through it.
All right, so he's just come home with a black eye.
Oh, he's come home with the black.
Yeah,
eye.
he's like,
Yeah.
Daddy, I'm getting picked on at school, and I don't know how to defend myself. I don't know how to talk. I don't want to punch, but I don't know how to talk. What should I do, Daddy?
You should say to the bully. You say to him, "Oh, it's all right, mate. Everything okay?
They love that. Bullies love that.
Everything all right? Are you sad about yourself? Are you? Oh, okay. Don't worry about it.
Just belittle the big kid
Yeah,
that's been smacking you up.
Yeah. Or you just go like, all right, give me a kiss or something, and then they get all really weird about it, and then the bully will start making you think a bit uncomfortable. I don't want to actually go after this kid, so he just walks away.
Part of that is true. I have experience of this, and you have to go. I don't do the kissing part. You have to go a bit psycho. That was what I used to do.
Yeah.
I used to go mad. I was like, "You come for me, you're probably gonna beat me up, but I might bite your face off.
Yeah.
Like, I will bite you, and you will leave with kinds of marks on you you don't even know that someone could do. And you have to do that maybe once, and they stop picking on you.
A bully likes picking on the same person over and over again because they ain't going to do anything.
How do you know that?
Because you see it in films and whatever, like
Oh,
it's just
films.
general thing.
Mhm.
So if you just do something that he's not expecting, they'll be like, oh, what the fuck? And they're probably a little bit off guard. And
Have you ever done
Where's-
anything like to catch him off guard?
I've never been bullied.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's-
but did you ever bully?
No.
I can imagine. I actually believe you. I think you just would have just sailed through, just like you do in life.
Theo was always,
No issue.
you were always just liked, weren't you, by everyone?
I had a lot of friendship groups. Like I was in here, in there, over there. Don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. I think that's a good thing.
It's
Floating around. I think it's good if everyone likes you.
I don't know a person that doesn't like Theo Baker. I don't know a person that's a bad word to say about him. You
Like
go.
the Wafflin Mafia, like adore him.
They did turn on him, but that's why you were genuinely upset by everything that went on the other week. And I think that's because you are just a nice person.
Yeah, you are like
Not
genuinely.
me though. Let's,
What are you
Well,
about?
a good friend of mine,
like the whole like.
someone you know, I won't name him on the pod, but someone you know involved in hashtag lost their brother recently. They passed away, and I knew the brother quite well, and it's very sad. I went to their funeral. They had multiple funerals actually. Had these online things from different people because he'd been a very impactful person in his life. And I mean, the funeral went on for 2.5 hours. There was about 14 different people that stood up and spoke really meaningfully. Let me tell you, I'm very proud of a lot of things I've done in my life, but there's no way that's happening for me if I die tomorrow. So motivated by it. Like, I'm talking about heartfelt stuff that this person had really touched these people's lives. I'm not trying to make it about me. I'm just trying to say that, like, it was inspiring.
I think you've inspired and touched a lot more people than you think.
Well, maybe
Especially on a
online.
personal- no, I
maybe,
think on a
from
personal
distance,
level.
But this person was in the trenches, if you like, doing things every day, and it was very much makes me want to do more of the stuff we talked about a minute ago, like actual hands-on, helping people, doing things, because that is a life well lived, isn't it? And this person, unfortunately, their life was cut short, but you couldn't deny the impact they'd had on many people. So positive. So I think that's a good thing to aim for, right? Is when you do pass away, hopefully not for a long time, you get a good send off because you've had a good impact.
I think you do a little injustice to yourself there, Spen. I think you've helped a lot more people than you think offline, personally as well, and it being an inspiration to a lot of people with not only what you've done online but what you've done as a person as well.
Hopefully, mate. I think that a lot of what I've done, if that's true, has been a result of something I've been doing for myself, if I'm honest, like in terms of helping my own self and my job and my career. I think offline is a bit more the real me. And I think what I'm starting to try and do, and it's why I wanted to come on here and have a chat with you boys, is be a bit more open on my platform or any platforms I'm lucky to be on with the real Spencer. Some people undeniably would have watched this and probably gone right off me. That's fine. That's not going to keep me up at night because they'll think I'm too different to what they probably thought I was. And that's fine. But actually, this is the real Spencer. So I'd rather you not like the real Spencer than you like the Spencer FC.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
I don't remember a lot of things, but I always remember that one comment. No, but it's true. Like I do like there is a period of my life which I just have I look back and I just have not a fucking clue what's going on there. I have no idea. I have no memory of this. Almost feel like I wasn't even made. It never existed.
Well, like where? What part are you like?
10
you have any
minutes
head
ago.
injuries during this time?
It was, I'd say,
Have
between like
you?
2018 and COVID. Not a clue. Not a clue. Anyway, that's beside
So
the
when
point.
Wafflin saw.
Yeah, that's when we.
That was beside the point. Beside the point. The point was that I do remember that one conversation you and I had in the kitchen, in your kitchen.
Yes.
And that stuck with me forever.
Coke chats.
Absolutely not, actually. It was post-filming chat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I can see now that that conversation stemmed from you also taking the leap with Alex when you said what you just mentioned now. So you had 2 months to make it or not make it on YouTube. So did that stem from that?
Well, we were talking about your situation, weren't we? About you,
was
whether
that?
you were going to quit uni or not.
Yeah.
Oh, to be a YouTuber full time.
Because I had the pressures of obviously my parents who were on board, but it was more actually pressure from the university itself saying, you ain't going to make this, you're going to be back. Blah, blah, blah. My tutors say you can't do this. Like,
They were saying
Isn't that a
to
great
you.
example
Yeah.
of what we're talking about with schools? I got an anecdote. One of the lads who's commentating on the Baller League now, a guy called Brandon. I used to work with him a lot on the esports shows. So him and a guy called Richard Buckley were studying at UCFB, I think, in Manchester. They're studying sports journalism specifically to be commentators, right? I think in their first year, they won a competition, which means they got to commentate on all the esports, FIFA esports events. Yeah? And they were bloody good. For young boys, 18, 19, they were really good. And they kept the gig the whole time. They've been doing it for a decade now. They were going to get failed by the university because they'd missed a few lectures to do this. And I was like, hang on. They've smashed it. No one in that uni can teach them to do what they're doing now. None of you have done it. You teachers, you've not done any of it. You're going to fail them. They just didn't need the degree in the end. You should be giving them honorary degrees,
Yeah.
giving them their fucking money back because they are now the poster boy for your course, which they now do, by the way. You can come to our uni and be like them. They don't tell them they're going to fail them on it.
There's a thing, you're studying to pass an exam, not be the thing, right? Realistically, like, are you fulfilling these check marks, yes or no? And like, that's the thing. It's not just one way to do everything.
But these
Like-
people don't know. This is the thing. I'm not trying to say that it's an evil conspiracy. I don't think that schools are the way they are because people actually in charge of the schools are going, let's keep everyone in their place. They just think they're doing the right thing.
Yeah, they're
and
just
they don't
doing as they're
realise-
told.
also,
Yeah.
for a lot of jobs, you have to say, like, actually, if you want to be a brain surgeon,
Yeah.
You
you have to do this.
Yeah,
Do you know
and-
what I mean? So there are things,
Yeah, that's true.
but there are also now alternative.
I think when it comes to creativity, I think that's a big one
That's-
where you can't
yeah.
go, who are you? It's so subjective. You can't just go
Yeah.
buy the book, whatever. And
But
yeah.
I do think also we've shit on like school curriculums quite a lot. I think it's important to say that like teachers, I think, care about.
Oh
children.
yeah.
Well,
We're
like
not
that,
definitely
but-
not attacking
But,
anyone
like, it
as
can come
people.
across like that
we're-
when we talk.
Yeah, see, this is why you are Luke Martin, and
Both my
you.
parents are
It's
teachers.
good that you say that.
Yeah, it's good for PR.
Thanks.
He is-
that-
he is
that
good
was-
PR
that was a
man.
good bit.
I think, I've got some relationships still with teachers taught me. I think teachers are amazing. Like, good teachers are hard to come by as well. Like, in
They make
terms
a
of
big
ones that are
impact
really
on
good.
your life as well.
Huge impact. You spend so much time with them, more than your parents at that age.
Yeah, you end up fancying them.
Some of them.
Did you? No. Did you get? Why did that happen? Is it because you're going through puberty
Yeah.
and like you're feeling hormones?
No, but it's because who you're talking about. One of our teachers was genuinely just pretty.
She might watch.
Well, yeah, she may
Shout her
well.
out or not?
Well, I think we're a bit old for her now, to be honest.
Well, she's surely older than you.
Well, yeah, no, she was.
Yeah.
But she was well, we won't go down that route because it might
Don't
get
worry,
in a
it's
bit.
still-
Anyway.
Okay.
Mrs.
Well,
Yeah.
Then. Yeah.
All right. Well, then let's just say one last thing. Do you think? This is just from a personal question. Do you think that we have one life, or our like soul has actually gone through many different lives in different places, not just Earth, like dimensions all over the gaff, and we're just on one big soul journey, and we decide to come here? Or do you think this? You're just Spencer. That's it. See you later.
Have you fought in World War One?
Oh,
Me personally, no.
I had to.
I think. So I think that we're all connected, right? So I would take the ego out of that and say it's not about me and whether I exist and my thought processes are that important that they've existed before. I think I am an amalgamation of matter and things that have created this, and I've gone through events that have created my brain, and my parents obviously played a part in it and all those things. What I do think is that potentially, I don't know the full best way to describe this, but I think we all came from the central source of energy at some point. And like, if you look into it and you see like there's a David Attenborough thing on Netflix about life on Earth, and it's talking about like the actual original mammals and all these things that came about. But before that, when we first came out to sea and things like this, there's a school of thought which it isn't as simple as amoeba to fish to, you know, reptiles to mammals. There's like a lot of middle phases, and some of them, you'll like this, suggest that there was some fungi involved, and there was actually that we came from vegetation as well as that. I'm talking really millions of years ago, that evolution. There's certain characteristics. If you look into things like fungi and the systems they have under the ground and how intelligent they are. Things like Japan are building road systems based on the routes that fungi take under the ground, because they're the most efficient routes to get from somewhere to somewhere else. More efficient than anything a human can come up with. If you cut open a tree and you look at the rings, don't you think they look a lot like the rings on our fingerprint?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of that.
Isn't it weird that trees produce the thing that we need to live, oxygen, and we produce the thing they need to
live. The roots look like our lung bronchi.
They do. They really do. So
it's all intertwined, boys and girls.
I don't think Spencer's existed, but I do think we're all the same. I think if we were to be truly enlightened, which I don't think I am, but I'd love to think I'm on a journey towards, we would see each other as the same. We'd stop fighting each other.
Yes.
The wars would stop, and we'd essentially just have a big loving.
Also, you say that, and it actually scientifically could make sense, though.
I think it makes as much sense as some of the other stuff people believe.
Yeah.
So I still always think the most mind-blowing fact is that matter can't be created nor destroyed. So therefore, everything that we are made up of has been here since the day the universe was incepted.
Yeah, 100%.
Mad thing. And then final point of the evening. One piece of advice for us gentlemen, if we ever do decide or have the opportunity to be fathers.
Okay, yeah, I like that. As in post fatherhood, or to whether you should become fathers.
I think once we've become,
once we are daddies.
Well, the first thing I'd say is I am no authority on this, right? Like, you see how my kids turn out. Give me 20 years, see if they're nutcases or not. But I would say generally some advice I got from a friend was like, they're not made of glass, is one thing he said to me. Like, these things are born and you're like so scared to break them. And you think, no, they're actually pretty robust, and they are, this is like a physical advice, but you can they're a real thing. They're an animal. Look how the nature interact with each other, and parents with their cubs and stuff throw each other around and do that with them. That's the best bit of being a dad, actually, is that play you can have with the kids. But I would say just try, and this is advice to me as well, try and enjoy it. Like, so many people wish away, particularly the phase I'm in. I've got a 4-year-old and nearly a 1-year-old, and they call it the trenches, and it is hard. It's really hard, and you have days that are shit. You have shit days, and you have days when you think, my life is what's happened to my life. But if I could talk to the future me, I'm pretty sure I'd go, I really miss the days when my little boy just wanted to cuddle me in bed and hold my hand everywhere he went. Then it's not going to happen forever. Are we holding our dad's hands very often? You know what the sad truth is? Because I've watched my grandparents die and all these things, is that's the next time we'll probably hold our dad's hands, is when they're on their deathbed, or our grandparents' hands or whatever. And it doesn't have to be like that. But when you have that beautiful moment, when you've got these young children who idolize you, hopefully my boy, and one of the reasons I'm having these conversations is I want to leave bits of me behind. If something happened to me, I don't want my lad to not know, or my lads to not know who I am. I want them to know. And whether that's privately with little things I can leave for them, or this stuff, I want them to be able to see the things I thought. I want them to know that I was flawed. I want them to know that I don't have it all figured out, and life wasn't always easy for me, because they're my blood. So they might have the same experiences. It might make them feel better to know I did it as well. So I'm not perfect, but I tell you what, I say this from experience, as being a son and looking at mine now, they think I am right now. They think I'm perfect. They think I'm Superman. They think I'm the strongest man, the cleverest man, fastest man. And it's quite a lovely time to be alive. So enjoy it. And that's it, really.
Phenomenal. I also think those things. Genuinely.
I do agree as well.
Fantastic. Anyways, guys, we're going to wrap it there. Please leave a like rating, subscribe, follow, whatever it is. And what else? Rate 5 stars. What else do they do?
Yeah, wherever you're listening to us, give us a 5-star rating.
Yeah, that is the one. And then if you want to get some anonymous questions in for us boys and any future guests, Theo is going to let you know the email right now.
Boys.com/wafflin.
Well, incorrect.
That's not even an email address.
It's a website.
Yeah, but it
It'll be a website.
at something. Surely you know it.
Come on, Theo.
boys.com.
It's been like 8 months now.
Fucking who
Go
cares?
on, down the lens. 3, 2, 1.
Who cares?
Who cares?
I don't fucking know. At the what?
At the what?
Theboys.com/wafflin.
That's not an email address.
Oh, just say it. I don't know. What is it? At
Theo.
the boys.
Wafflin is your baby.
At the boys.
Be the daddy that we all want you to be. 3, 2, 1.
The boys at wafflin.org.
Yeah.
Yes! Oh, get them in, and we will see you on the next one. Peace.